All right, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Chase Thomas Podcast, where I am still the aforementioned Chase Thomas, coming to you live from Knoxville, Tennessee, down there in Ucla, Georgia. My good friend, fellow University of North Georgia alumni, Matt Green, is here. Matt, good evening, sir. How are you?
Good evening, sir. It is good to be back, talking ball like we do every week. And for those viewers, for those very keen eyes on our YouTube channel, they might notice a little something different going on in my background here. Mm-hmm. This is an addition, sir, to our shrine. We got the Coca-Cola Georgia National Championship edition. Saw this one at Publix, had to go ahead and snag it. I mean, I got the 1980 bottle, as I think a lot of diehard Georgia fans do. It's iconic, really. So Coca-Cola going with the specialty release. So had to cop those, get those. Hopefully they're not iconic or anything for Georgia fans, because hopefully we're doing this every few years, winning championships, and we don't have to wait 40 more years. But yeah,
well, if 1980 was any indication, that one will definitely not just be an iconic once-in-a-lifetime situation based on the University of Georgia's national championship history. You should be fine.
Yeah, man. We'll see. Kirby, it's a new era, you know. Mm-hmm. But, hey, I got like an extra six-pack, so maybe they'll be worth something one day.
There you go. But you said you went to Publix. Was there not a Kroger nearby that you were just like, I really need to get into Publix where the lights are bright and we want to be helped at all times? And
yeah, man, you're the only person that dislikes Publix, I swear.
I really am. I'm on an island because I think other people like that. They like the sunny, cheery disposition that everybody has. I mean, they did my wedding cake, and they did a great job. I used Publix for the wedding cake. They did a good job.
There you go. Quit hate. It's where shopping and working is a pleasure.
Not an ad, but it could be.
I remember that's what they said in their little... When I worked at Publix, right? It was a previous time for me, previous chapter of my life. But I remember that's what they used to always say in those employee training videos, where shopping and working is a pleasure.
That's dangerously close to Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, they're definitely...
They're in the same family. They feel like they're in the same family.
What's the word I'm looking at? There's some synergy there with Chick-fil-A and Publix for sure.
Well, don't forget, folks, you can watch this very show on youtube.com/Chase Thomas Podcast. Like and subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube right now, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe, share it, all that good stuff. As we continue growing our YouTube channel, you can also listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Just go ahead and hit that subscribe button. New episodes every single day here on the Blue Wire Pod Network. You can also email the program if you have any college football questions for us, any questions in general about the show, at chasethomaspodcast@gmail.com. Matt, not a lot of news over the last week. We had a bunch of news we had to talk about with Jeff Collins and Herm Edwards, and just there was a lot of coaching movement, a lot of stuff going on this past week. But as of right now, the biggest thing is just the Dennis Dodd report today on CBSSports.com that you can go check out there, kind of illuminating where expansion's going next. And it looks like the Pac-12 is the conference that falls, where the ACC is kind of locked in and they're safe for a decade or so because of their grant of rights deal. But we'll see what happens after that. But with the Big 12 beefing up and chasing half of the conference and the Big 10 still chasing the other half of the Pac-12, someone was going to get eaten and gobbled up, and it looks like the Pac-12 is the one that gets gobbled up. What do you make of it, Matt Green?
Yeah, like you said, it's one of these conferences, one of these Power 5 conferences had to be cannibalized in order for this super conference thing that college football seems to be turning into, in order for that to happen. So, and I feel like we've all thought like USC and UCLA by themselves just don't make sense in the Big Ten. So the Big Ten just can't be done. I'm sure they're gonna, snag a couple, whichever other schools they want, whether it be Oregon and Washington, is kind of what it sounds like. And then the Big 12 get the teams they want, and then I don't know whoever's left over. Like, it's unfortunate, It's like there's a reason all these conferences originally became conferences. Like, we need a conference out there on the Pacific Coast. But with the industry being what it is, money and realignment and all that, it's a lot to get used to.
Well, maybe the Mountain West steps up and they become the SEC of the West Coast in the years to come to Magary.
Maybe the Fun Belt of the West Coast.
I mean, yeah, the Fun Belt right there. I just it looks like it will be, and like you said, this was something where I'm not surprised, and I've said for months that I think the Pac-12 is the one to go because the contract, the TV negotiations are going on right now at a bad time for them. They just got cannibalized by the Big Ten with USC and UCLA. It was never just going to be those two. Like, the traveling never made sense. Like, you were not getting just UCLA and USC. It's not happening. There is no way that's happening year over year that's the schedule for these guys. So Stanford and Cal obviously going because Cal is like, we're the main school here. This is UCLA. We're the UC part of this. So Cal Berkeley, yeah, we're also going. If you're taking UCLA, you're taking us as well. And then you get Stanford for the academics, and they kind of fit that mold as well in the Big Ten. I just wonder what it means.
So how many teams we add? So you're including Stanford, Cal,
Washington, and Oregon.
Washington and Oregon. So the Big Ten's going to take 6 of them.
Yes, total.
So what? They're up to 16 right now, right? If we're including USC and UCLA. Mm-hmm. So that puts them at even 20 right there.
Yeah.
Still don't have Notre Dame in the conference.
Well, I don't think Notre Dame's going anywhere. I still just think Notre Dame's staying put for a while. I do not think we see Notre Dame join a conference until they are absolutely forced to do so. I just don't see it.
I would think that if they go, this is the structure I'm against, by the way. That's been thrown around of the top 4 conference champions are the top 4 seeds, and then it's at large after that. I just don't think that's the way to do it. Do it like the NCAA tournament does, and we'll take conference championships into account, but 2 1 seeds could potentially be from the same conference. So I hope they don't do it that way, but I think that's what would cause Notre Dame to get into a conference because, well, if we're ever going to get a first round bye in the playoff, like, we have to be in a conference. I think that's the only thing that would really shove them into a conference, which would, I guess, at this point, it would have to be the ACC. If in your scenario, if the Big Ten's getting to 20 and they still don't have Notre Dame, it seems like the ACC is the logical place for them to go. Because the obvious, other than the fact that it's not logical at all for Notre Dame to be in the Atlantic Coast Conference, just with all the other sports already being there, it seems like the logical thing.
Well, I wonder what happens if they get to 20. The Big Ten does get to 20. Does the SEC gobble some ACC schools in that scenario where they're like, I mean, they even call Notre Dame. I would not be surprised if Greg Sankey calls about Notre Dame, if that's the case, and sees just what the possibility of Notre Dame in the SEC would look like.
Honestly, it's like blasphemous to even say that, but you're right. If they get up to 20 and then the SEC is still sitting here at 16, they're not just going to add Appalachian State and Georgia Southern. Like, it's going to be someone that really impacts the brand, like a North Carolina or a Notre Dame, something big like that.
Well, I mean, it's probably Florida State, Miami, North Carolina, and then who do you think is the 4th one in that scenario? I
don't know. I've always thrown out Duke and North Carolina as a package, like, because
I think they're getting split up. I don't think the SEC is taking Duke.
Basketball rivalry that's like just so huge.
Maybe UVA is the 4th one.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Time will tell. I'm cool with this. I want to see how this 16-team conference works out. I'm really excited about hopefully the 3-6 rotation model that they're looking at.
There you go.
So we'll see. We got a long way to go for talking about a 20-team conference.
Well, Matt Green, we're already in week 5 of the college football season. My Tennessee Volunteers have a bye this weekend, so I can just turn my attention to everyone else outside of the Georgia Bulldogs, who will win by 49 points or more once again. So everyone who's not a Georgia football fan, don't waste your time. Just watch the Brock Bowers highlights, see what crazy stuff he does, and then move on with your day. But This is week 5. It's amazing. This college football season, it always blows our mind every week or every season how fast it goes. Like we're already in week 5 is bonkers to me. But here we are to refresh listeners as we get into our pick'em. Matt Green, where are we at going into week 5?
Where are we at, sir? So overall, you still have the lead through 4 weeks of the season. I guess 4.25 weeks of the season, whatever you want to call week 0. And you are 34-13 overall. I'm 30-17 overall. And then against the spread, we are deadlocked, sir, at 22-23-2. And then we got Zeus with his home dog of the week is 2-2 on the season. So we'll see if we can keep the good. But he's got 2 straight wins, so let's see if we can all keep the good vibes going into week 5.
I mean, hey, there we go. Just keeping it moving. We'll see if Zeus can get over 500 this week. Feeling pretty good. I'm curious to see where Zeus went. Matt Green, where are we going first in our pick'em, sir?
We're going with the college game day, game of the week. NC State at Clemson. Clemson is a 6.5-point home favorite. What are your thoughts on this one, sir?
Clemson barely survived last week. The way Dave Clawson put it in the post-game presser following Wake Forest's loss to the Wildcats, to the Tigers in double overtime, was they just made one more play than we did. Like, that was it. They made one more play. I think this Clemson team's beatable. And they're gettable, and I would feel a lot better if this was a home game for NC State. But do I trust Devin Leary more? Yes, than DJ Ucla. No matter what Dabo Swinney says about DJ, like we're gonna see. And that defense gave up a lot of offense. They gave up 6 passing touchdowns to Sam Hartman, who's a great player, but it tied a Wake Forest and ACC record for most touchdown passes in a game. We just don't see that from Clemson anymore. Like, that was something that we just never thought anyone, like you saw Georgia Clemson last year, where that's just a one-score game, like a very, very low-scoring game. Clemson's defense was the thing that kept them in the double-digit win territory last year.
No offensive touchdowns either.
Right. Now the defense is a little bit beatable, a little bit gettable. I just think Clemson is just not who they were in the peak Lawrence and Watson era years. And there's a come down effect, and I think it's gradual what's happening in Clemson. I mean, they're not going to fall off a cliff or anything. I just think they're more of a 10-2, 9-3 team now to me, and closer to the top ACC programs like the Wake Forest, the Pitts when they have a Kenny Pickett type, the NC States when they have a Devin Leary. I mean, NC State just beat Clemson last year. That is something we saw. Like, that happened. It's asking a lot, though, for them to do it in back-to-back years. Like, that's different territory for NC State to pull this off in back-to-back years. I would feel a lot better if this was at home. And going to Death Valley, it's asking a lot. I want to pull the trigger on the Wolfpack. I think Clemson's gettable. I'm looking at the schedule. I think they're going to drop a couple, but I don't think it's to NC State this week. And I think Clemson wins, but it's another close game. So give me Clemson to win, but NC State to cover.
I feel like you wanted to do it, but
you
didn't do it. Clemson's won 15 of the last 17 in this series. Last win that Clemson had, or that NC State had at Clemson, was 2002, which was also the last time they went back-to-back in 2002 and 2003. Last time they beat Clemson in back-to-back years. I think you stated a lot of the reasons why this is going to be a tough game for Clemson. I think the biggest difference, there's a chance that NC State's offense is not quite as prolific as Wake Forest. I think that could be one of the better offenses in the ACC this year. But I do think NC State is going to be up there. And the difference is Wake Forest has like the 90th ranked defense in the country. Like, everybody is scoring on them. Right now, NC State's got the 8th ranked defense in the country, giving up 6 points per game. And they were 14th in the country last year. So I think they're a much more, like, they're not just going to get in this shootout, like, yeah, you can't stop them, but they can't stop you type of thing. Like, I think NC State is going to get more stops than Wake Forest did, and I think they're going to put up some points. And I think NC State's going to go on the road and get this done.
Oh, you have the win. You don't even have them covering. You have NC State pulling this off.
This is the 2022 ACC champions right here, sir. I think we've yet to see the best game from NC State so far. Like Devin Leary, he's been fine, but I think he's still got another level to reach. And I think this Clemson defense, I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I'm going NC State, going on the road and getting the upset.
I don't have it for this week. You know where I have? I've already circled it. 2 weeks out. It's at Florida State, at Doak. That's where Clemson falls. Is at the Doak.
But is that even an upset? Like NC
I think
State,
that'd be an upset.
They might be favored at Florida State. Maybe
you think Florida State would be favored in that one?
Well, I'm saying you're saying Clemson or NC State?
No.
You're saying Clemson's going to lose at Florida State.
Yeah, that's the one I've got.
Gotcha.
I've got that one. And then Clemson, they go to Notre Dame in November, and we'll see what Notre Dame. I mean, they're figuring some stuff out. I see 10-2 for this Clemson team, but I don't see it at home. It's just their home record is preposterous, Matt Green. Like I had it in the preview series where like it's something bonkers. Like when was the last home loss for Clemson at home?
I know they lost to Pittsburgh that year. I think they won the national championship with Watson. Mm-hmm. I know they lost to Pittsburgh. I want to say that was at home. That's like 2016.
Okay, so that's 2016. They had the longest home winning streak in college football. 28 games.
That's the last one?
That was the last one. That was Pitt.
Yeah, so that goes way back.
You know who else?
NC State had a shot at one point in there. Like I remember missing a field goal like to win it and then lost in overtime or something like that.
Well, you know what's funny too? I mean, just man. That's wild. Yeah, Clemson, it's not happened in a very long time.
All right, but keeping it moving, this is our Friday night game. We got Washington at UCLA, and UCLA is a 2.5-point home dog in this one. UCLA feels like the Ole Miss or Kentucky of the pack, maybe more Ole Miss, because Kentucky did play it.
Oh, I was going to say Mississippi State.
They're more like the Ole Miss of the Pac-12 right now. They're 4-0, but I have no idea how good this team actually is. Like they've beaten up on a bunch of cupcakes. I feel like Washington feels like a team that's been more battle tested. Like Michael Penix Jr. is looking like
they beat the crap out of Michigan State.
Yeah, he's looking like 2020 Michael Penix Jr. So I'm feeling Washington on this one, going on the road and getting the win. It goes against my weekday road game philosophy, but I went against it with Florida State, and it worked out with me when Florida State beat Louisville. But UCLA, I've been so discouraged by those crowd shots I see at UCLA, and I'm like, weekday road game only matters if the student body's getting up for this one. What percentage capacity is this stadium going to be on Friday night? 50? Like maybe?
No, I would say like 20, 25.
Yeah.
Like you're looking at day games on Saturday. Like you're talking about a Friday night in LA. They got other things to do, man. They're not. They got other things going on in LA. It's funny you're doing this because I'm doing what I thought you would do here. I'm taking UCLA to win and cover. I think this is prime upset potential for the Bruins. I mean, I'm all in on the Huskies this year. And I'll get to why in a second, but the road team has won only 4 of the last 11 games in this series, which I think matters here. But what gave me pause, Washington, first in scoring offense in 2022 in the Pac-12. Last year, they were 9th in the Pac-12. Just an unreal flip the script by Kalen DeBoer from Jimmy Lake in 1 year. This is going to be a high-scoring, no-defense game where I think the reason this is 2.5 is I think they're just like 51-48 is like the final here. And I think DTR, man, him versus Michael Penix Jr. is going to be a lot of fun, but I think this is just a sleepy one where Washington does not get up for UCLA on the road on a Friday night, and UCLA steals this to get to 5-0, where it's a 5-0, but it's not a real 5-0. And I don't know. Give me the Bruins here to win and cover.
Over-under is 64.5 for this one. So
I would smash the over on that. Make some money, folks. Go ahead and smash the over on that one.
The next one, we're going Oklahoma at TCU. And the Horned Frogs are a 6-point home dog in this one. I want to take you in the time machine. Take you back to 2020. The last time that Oklahoma lost to Kansas State at home, just an almost an unexplainable loss. And when we probably came on this podcast the next week, like, Oklahoma doesn't lose 2 games in a row, so we're gonna pick Oklahoma because they're just not gonna lose 2 conference games in a row. Dropped to 0-2 in the conference. Well, that is exactly what happened back in 2020 when they lost at Iowa State the very next week and dropped to 0-2 to start the Big 12 season. I'm getting 2020 vibes from Oklahoma right now, and I think the Horned Frogs are going to pull the upset at home, and I just think Oklahoma's going to come out and lay another egg. And this is going to be a little adversity for the first-year coach Brent Venables. A lot of roster turnover, a lot of culture you gotta turn your way. So I'm going to take TCU to win this one.
Oh, wow. TCU, you're all in on the Max Duggan experience, who was not supposed to start this year. Chandler Morris gets hurt, and insert Max Duggan, who I swear has been at TCU for like 37 years at this point. The forgotten quarterback that just no administration has apparently wanted, and he's just worked, and he's been really good. His stats to this point. So Duggan has completed 47 of 61 passes for 695 through the air, 8 TDs. He has not thrown a pick. He's first in the nation in passing efficiency with a 216 quarterback rating, while ranking third in completion percentage, completing 77% of his passes. So good stuff from CBS Sports on that. Here's the thing. That's not what happened last week against K-State. You're asking me to believe Brent Venables gets diced up on the ground by Adrian Martinez and the Kansas State Wildcats, and then the following week to get diced up through the air? You're telling me he just gets diced up in completely different ways in back-to-back weeks. The best defensive mind maybe in college football gets diced up. These
aren't the same players that were playing at Clemson, man.
He's got good players at Oklahoma.
They're not like Clemson-level players, though.
I can't do it. There is no way I'm doing this. I am not going to have the Oklahoma Sooners going back-to-back and losing to TCU at home, getting thrown all over at home. Back-to-back weeks, can't do it. Give me Oklahoma to win and cover.
I bet you said something very similar back in 2020, and the Cyclones had a different plan. We got another disagreement. This is a great start. You might make up some
ground this week.
We got a great start to this week, and I know there's going to be more. Keeping it moving, our noon slate on ESPN. This is a big one. I'm going to be super jacked for this one because ESPN's finally realized that noon slot, with all due respect to the Big Ten, we don't want to see Minnesota Northwestern, right at this noon. This Illinois.
I don't know. Have you seen the new field adjustments? Northwestern's investing. They're adding whatever it's called, Kyle Field. They have the new. They're adding some stuff. They're investing more. Hey,
it's no disrespect to Beth Mowins, but it would always be a Beth Mowins game.
Hold on, Beth Mowins is awesome.
No, but I'm saying those sleepy Big Ten noon games would seem to always be what follow all the energy. You're like, you're jacked up.
Pam Ward.
You're jacked up for game day. Maybe her too.
Yeah.
You're jacked up after game day, and then you go to Illinois, and it's like this quiet crowd, and you're like, oh yeah, football's about to kick off. You're like, oh yeah, I guess I'll come back at 3:00 when the good games start. No, ESPN's like, Fox figured this out with the big noon.
Yeah,
we're gonna do it too
because people want to watch football right away.
Exactly.
It makes sense.
We're already on ESPN watching game day. Let's go right into a nice environment. So with all of that, Kentucky goes on the road to Oxford, Mississippi. And the Ole Miss Rebels are a 6.5-point home favorite over the number 7 team in the country.
Yeah.
Which I also don't think Kentucky is the number 7 team in the country. But I will acknowledge that I feel like I always undervalue Kentucky. It's just maybe the way I was conditioned with college football. It's like, I know Mark Stoops is a new era, but it's still Kentucky. And I'm like, oh, can Kentucky go on the road and win a big-time SEC game? They did it against Florida a couple weeks ago, but I think this Ole Miss team is a lot better than Florida. Maybe not a lot better, but I do think they are better. But like I said about UCLA, I have no idea what this team is yet, just because they haven't played anybody. We've essentially seen 4 dress rehearsals for Ole Miss to begin the season, and now they're going to play a real team. And I don't see them covering the 6.5. I think this is going to be a really close game because Kentucky just has a way of like making you play their style, like kind of bringing you down in the ditch with them. Like they seem to play to everyone, all of their opponents, good and bad. Like Miami of Ohio and Northern Illinois were both close games. Kentucky had too, but there's something about Mark Stoops' style, the style Kentucky wants to play. I think it travels well. And I don't know how good Ole Miss is yet, so I'm going to take Ole Miss to win but not cover. Give me Kentucky in the points.
This was tough. And also Lane Kiffin, I love Lane. Lane is just, like, the guy has no fear. Like, this week just calling. So I have a quote for you. Did you see what he said about the fans at Ole Miss this week?
No, I didn't see that.
Okay. Lane he says whatever, man, and I appreciate it. He said, quote, when you come back out, he's talking about the second half after this their game this weekend. When you come back out, run out of the tunnel, and it looks like a high school game, you can't let that affect you. I've tried social media for 2 years, but I'll worry about what I can control. Not a fan.
That I feel like I've noticed that more and more in college football, of just like the crowd like emptying out around halftime.
Well, I can tell you one crowd that doesn't do that. And they were in Knoxville, Tennessee this weekend, full checkerboard. Even after the game was over, the stands still just completely decked out, as much as it to the chagrin of some Georgia local reporters of fan takeovers that have happened ostensibly in Neyland Stadium over the last year or so.
I had a press credential to a UGA game a few years ago, and my phone was dying, so I was like going to my car to get a phone charger, and I knew I could get back in the game, and I'm just seeing all these people just flooding out at halftime. I'm like, they can't. I even asked somebody, I was like, they can't get back in the game, right? Like, no, they're just leaving. It's like,
that's so weird.
The game, it was like I think it might have been the Tennessee game actually, 2018. And it was like a 2013 game at the half or something. Like, it was not a blowout by any means, but it was
What's the
strange.
view like at UGA's press box? Is it good?
Oh yeah, it's incredible. And I think they're moving it because I think it's so good. I think they're gonna turn it into more box seating type stuff.
Oh, yeah. That sucks.
Because it's the 200, it's the 300 level. I think is the seats that are right below the press box, and that's that's the big time. That's the perfect section you want. It's just it's something about how high up you are, but you're far enough away to see everything. It's pretty ideal. I got to dap up Elijah Holyfield for the game. I got you.
Well, I'm glad you were able to do that, Mac.
I remember this kid running around the field. Got Terry Godwin's gloves and someone else, and he had 3 pairs of gloves. He's like, "Oh, look at all the gloves!" And I was like, "Yo, let me get some of those gloves. I want some gloves. Come on, you can't even wear those. You're 7. Come on, man."
That's great. Ole Miss, 15-3 over the last 18 games. Matt Graham, would you like to guess what Kentucky is their last 18 games?
Oh, I think I saw this same stat. It's the same record, right?
They are also 15-3. I also love this quote from Mark Stoops, because the dirty little secret about Kentucky this year, and part of this is just not having Chris Rodriguez, but they have not been able to run the ball at all. They're averaging something 2.7 yards per carry, I think, to this point. That's just not what Kentucky's ever been is under the Mark Stoops era. They have been a ground and pound first, dating back to Benny Snell and guys before that. They are now a passing team, and they're relying on and they have good wideouts. Even after losing Wan'Dale Robinson, their wideouts made some plays against Northern Illinois, and they've looked okay. And that's something to monitor. That being said, he said, quote, "For 5 years, y'all didn't appreciate shit." in regards to people questioning the team not being able to run the football this year. And he's like, oh, now we can't run the football. You're concerned that we can't do it after yelling at me about passing more and opening up the offense. Now I can't run the football, and you're concerned. Mark Stoops, hilarious. All that being said,
exact situation Georgia's in these days. Now people want they have a good passing offense. You want to complain about the running game.
I've gone back and forth. I think this was the hardest one to pick for me, Matt Green. And it's now Jackson Dart's team. Lane Kiffin confirmed. Luke Altmaier is the number 2. Dart has looked okay. The thing that I go back to, Kentucky can't pass block either. They're not running the football. They're, I believe, last in the SEC in sacks given up. Like, Will Levis is running for his life back there, preparing to do his Matthew Stafford in the Detroit Lions, because that's who he's just getting compared to. So he has to experience just playing behind a bad offensive line before he gets to the NFL.
Comparison I do not understand.
You get it all the time.
Not even the same type of player. It's like compared to like Josh Allen or something, if you want. Not that he's that good, but that's at least more the style he plays.
I just don't believe in the parameters of what Kentucky needs to do to win. And I am going to take Ole Miss, but Kentucky covers.
Okay, so we agree on that one.
I think it's going to be super close. Wouldn't be surprised if it's a field goal difference, but the offensive line sucks. I like Ole Miss's pass rush. I like that there is some certainty now with the quarterback situation. I like that Zach Evans is going to be able to run on this team. And I just don't trust what Kentucky's shown to this point offensively. Like, I don't see it. But I want them to win. Like, I want Kentucky to be as good as humanly possible going into Tennessee weekend, because it's been nice. Like, Tennessee being right behind Kentucky is just bulletin board material. Like, I need that on the wall for as long as possible. You need that?
Mm-hmm. I'm only rooting for Kentucky because Ole Miss, these uniforms they're busting out this week with this. Have you seen this? Have you heard about this? This white with light blue splotches.
Well, that's what Lane Kiffin's been wearing. Like, he wears all this. Yeah.
That's what their helmets are going to look like this week, and I can't pull for that. So
you don't like them? I think they look pretty cool.
No, they're awful.
Come to the sit, man.
I do not condone that, and so for that reason, I will be rooting for the Wildcats. But
wow.
Other than wanting my pick to be right, so it can hedge my bet there.
Mm-hmm.
And then moving forward, we got Purdue at Minnesota. The Golden Gophers are a 10-point home favorite. Nice Big Ten West showdown here. And I really like Minnesota. I think you've seen with Mo Ibrahim back healthy how good they can be running the ball. I think right now they are 10th in the country in scoring offense, 45.8 points per game, and 2nd in the country in points allowed. And that's pretty good if you're scoring a lot of points and not allowing a lot of points. And Purdue's just the 3 Power 5 games they've had have all been decided by by an average of 3 points a game. They're 1-2 in those games. I just think Minnesota is the class of the Big Ten West this year, to be honest. And so I'm going to take them to win this one by double digits. So give me Minnesota to win and cover.
We agree here, my friend. I also have Minnesota. Like, Minnesota, my Big Ten West team of the year. I think Aiden O'Connell's also out for Purdue in this one, last I checked, so I don't think they'll have their quarterback in this one. But Tanner Morgan, the most efficient quarterback in the country, which is amazing. There's a lot of Tennessee parallels there, but here's a stat for you that I like going into Purdue, where I think they're going to be able to play keep away and keep this Purdue offense off the field. Minnesota, where would you guess they are in third down conversion rate in the country right now, Matt Green?
10th.
Good guess. They are first. They are the best third down team in the country. 78% conversion rate on third down. That's almost 8 out of every 10 third down. They're converting it. So
that's not bad at all.
Give me the Gophers, win and cover. This is the year of the Gopher.
Yeah, so Tanner Morgan, last season, 10 touchdowns to 9 picks. Played 13 games. That's every game they played last year. They went 9-4 with a guy throwing 10 touchdowns and 9 picks.
They had a win streak down the stretch, right? Didn't they? I feel like they won a lot of games late. Or am I misremembering that?
You could be right about that. But what I was going to say was 2019, he was 30-7, and they went 11-2. So I think whichever Tanner Morgan we get is determining what the ceiling is for this Minnesota team.
I would agree. And the Tanner Morgan we've seen, I think, is a good one.
For sure. And then keeping it moving, we got Texas Tech at Kansas State. The Wildcats are a 7.5-point home favorite. The Giant Killers in the Big 12, Texas Tech and Kansas State. How do they follow it up? I look at Texas Tech last week, and honestly, I feel like they played the perfect game. Like they went 6 of 8 on fourth downs. Won the turnover battle 2-0. Donovan Smith didn't throw an interception. He's thrown multiple interceptions, like multiple games in a row before that. So I just don't think they're going to play another game that perfect. So I'm going to take Kansas State to win this one. It's going to look more like the Missouri game. Maybe not that big of a win, but I see Kansas State winning this one by multiple touchdowns.
We disagree here. Kansas State 122nd through the air to this point. So, yes, they were able to upend Oklahoma, but it was all through the ground. It's a little different than what they're going to be up against. The number 3 passing offense in the country. Number 1, UW. Number 2, the greatest university on the planet, the University of Tennessee. And then the Texas Tech Red Raiders at number 3. We're back in that you're going to have to score a bunch of points. The thing about the Red Raiders is they can have the turnovers, where that has been the biggest issue for them is that their turnover margin was quite bad to this point in the season. I think they are still at 114th in the country. Do you know where they're not, or who's not near there? Kansas State. They are number 11 in the country in turnover margin. So they don't turn the ball over. They have only they have not thrown an interception to this point, and they have turned the ball. They have gained 7 interceptions. But yeah, so they have only lost 1 fumble, and lost 1. Nobody is USC, who we'll get to, and their insane turnover margin to this point in the year. But I don't see it. They're going to have to pass. Adrian Martinez is going to have to pass. Do you know why he is going to have to pass Matt Green?
Why is that?
Texas Tech's defense isn't very good, but they're good at one thing. They are 28th in the country stopping the run on defense. Their secondary is just trash. Like, they're getting cooked through the air. Where they're not getting cooked is on the ground. This is a mismatch for the Wildcats. Give me the Red Raiders. All Lubbock, all the time on this podcast. Go Red Raiders. They get this one.
I feel like you gave a lot of reasons for why Kansas State is the better team, and then went and picked the Red Raiders.
I'm saying
you said they're the team that doesn't turn the ball over. And
that's
Texas
one
Tech
of the things.
does.
That might flip this. Is if Texas
they have
Tech
horrible secondary. So.
But Adrian, it's a good matchup to have a horrible secondary. K-State cannot throw. They are
or
100.
maybe even someone like Adrian Martinez can throw on them.
I've heard this story before.
I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I feel like you were talking yourself into Kansas State when you picked Texas Tech. So, all right, we got another disagreement there. So that's cool. Keeping it moving. Our 3:30 CBS game. One of these people seems to think this isn't much of a game, but Alabama goes on the road, 16.5-point favorite at Arkansas. And what are your thoughts about this one, sir?
Don't want to watch it. Don't think it's going to be good. I understand last year this was close. I understand that. They're coming off a brutal loss to A&M in Jerry World, where they should have won that game. Arkansas, I don't think the vibe is going to be good there. I think this is rough. To lose to A&M, I don't know who did their schedule, but to get A&M's defense and Alabama's defense in back-to-back weeks is just cruel and unusual punishment. Like, the scheduling gods are not in Arkansas's favor right now. And you look at where Bama is. People really freaked out about the Texas game. We're like, Texas just might have a really good defense, and Texas just might be, when all healthy, they're a good team, top 10, top 15 team when they're all healthy. Alabama is fine. And I think people just really lost it when it comes to Alabama and where they're at. They're top 10 now in both scoring offense and scoring defense, they're going to be okay. They're even, I think, in the top 15 in rushing offense at this point now. People do this every year now. They just want to talk themselves into a Bama close game. And I get that Arkansas was close last year. It felt more like there was more momentum. There's just something a little bit off about this Arkansas team. And getting A&M the week prior, they're beat up, man. This Arkansas team's beat up. I don't think they're going to be able to go into Tuscaloosa and keep this close. I think Bama wins.
No, this is at Arkansas.
Or at home. I don't think they're going to be able to withstand the body blows that Bama's going to throw their way. I think Bama wins and covers.
I think you are misjudging Sam Pittman's program here, sir. I think this is a strong culture at Arkansas. And I
didn't say it's not a strong culture, but they run the football. Bama's the number 4 run defense in college football right now. You can't run on him.
You tell me KJ Jefferson can't pass?
I'm saying he's going to have to pass a lot. He's not out-dueling Bryce Young.
And that's where I think it comes down to. Alabama's secondary is not good. Kool-Aid McKinstry is not good.
Hold on, you're saying that. Where do you think Alabama's secondary ranks in college football among 131 teams?
They haven't played anybody, but
number
Quinn
6
Ewers for one quarter.
They haven't given up a touchdown. They have not given up a passing touchdown.
They've played 3 garbage teams.
They had Texas. They didn't give up a passing touchdown either.
They got absolutely torched for the one quarter Quinn Ewers was in, and then once Quinn Ewers was out, they weren't good. Like they were. Even Hudson Card, they figured out Alabama's corners are just going to grab us all game. Let's just keep throwing deep balls because they can't guard anybody. Like, I think that's what Texas exposed in this Alabama secondary. Like, they cannot guard one-on-one. Texas A&M's 3 top receivers are 6'3", 6'3", 6'5". KJ Jefferson is one of the best quarterbacks in this conference. Raheem Sanders, like this is one of the best rushing attacks in this conference. Like I think this is 100% going to be a close game. Like we saw what they were last year in Tuscaloosa. I think the fact that this Texas A&M or this Arkansas team lost to A&M a week ago, I think that makes them even more like desperate. Like they've backed him into a corner essentially. Like I think Bryce Young has played 5. I got to get this stat to Connor O'Gara. 5 true road starts in Bryce Young's career. 4 of those games have been decided by 3 points or less, and the ones they've won they've only won them by 2 points or less. So I think Alabama has not been the same going on the road the last couple years, and I think Arkansas is going to upset Alabama and win this game. I'm taking Arkansas. Winning, I called it before the season started. I think this was the most dangerous game on Alabama's regular season schedule was at Arkansas. I think like they lost to A&M, but they were the better team. Like you could watch that game. Like they were about to go up 21-7 when that fumble that was taking back 100 yards for a touchdown happened. Like that completely swung the game. Like Arkansas is a very good team, and I think that place we've seen what that environment is. I feel like we forget about how much tradition, how much passion and everything Arkansas has as a program because they were just so bad for so many years with Bielema and Chad Morris. Like, that place is going to be absolutely rocking, and I think Arkansas pulls the upset.
Wow. We disagree.
I've told you, this Alabama team is just not – it's not the invincible Alabama team that they've been in recent years.
They are.
Like,
they just beat Vanderbilt 55-3.
What do we learn from the Vanderbilt game?
You gave up 20-something points to Kent State this weekend.
Yeah, we don't learn anything from those games. Like
Vanderbilt. I mean, you look
those
at
cupcake games. Yeah, but I'm saying
that's the one who got Nick Saban in year 1. People forget. It's Monroe.
But I'm saying we don't learn anything. Like Florida's going to beat whoever Eastern Washington by 50 points this week. It's like that doesn't mean Florida has a good offense. Like these games don't really mean anything. I think there's nothing you can really learn. The only real data point you have on Alabama this year is at Texas, where they really did nothing offensively for most of the game, especially by Alabama standards. So 13, what was it? They have to go get a field goal at the end, or they score a touchdown at the end? I think they got a field goal at the very end, right?
Who?
But regardless, Alabama, they scored 17. They had 17 points on going to the final drive of the game. You know what I mean? Like this is not the same Alabama that they've been in recent years with Tua and just dominating everybody. Like they've played a lot of close games the last year or so, and I think this is going to be another one. And I think this is the Razorbacks Super Bowl right here. This is their season.
Amazing. We disagree. Can't do it.
We'll see. I was shocked to see a 16.5-point line, though, honestly.
Did it not make you nervous?
To pick the upset?
Yeah.
It made me feel so good about against the spread. But in terms of the upset, I am like, what, 16? People really think it's that big? No, it definitely made me nervous when I first saw it. But I'm in my pick-em that I do every week, we kind of rank the confidence as well, 10 points. And that'll probably be my 10-pointer of them keeping it within 16.5.
Okay.
But I like the Razorbacks. What can I say? Keeping it moving.
Man.
Rematch of the Big 12 championship. We got Oklahoma State going on the road at Baylor. The Baylor Bears are a 2.5-point home favorite. And I like the Bears. I'm kicking myself ever since our Big 12 preview for not picking Baylor to win the Big 12 because I like them. Obviously, I think last week I was on this podcast saying I thought Oklahoma had been the best team in the Big 12 at this point, but now I think it's Baylor. I think Baylor's looked really solid, but also Baylor haunts Spencer Sanders' dreams, and that's what this comes down to. So 2021 and 2022, when Spencer Sanders does not play against Baylor, he's thrown 25 touchdowns and 8 picks. He seems to be a very competent quarterback. And when he does play against the Baylor Bears, he's thrown 1 touchdown and 7 picks. So I think the Baylor Bears just had some voodoo on Spencer Sanders. And I think Blake Shapen's looked real good this year. I like this defense. I'm going Baylor to win and cover.
Magary, we disagree again.
Oh, man.
We disagree again. Oklahoma State have won 11 of the last 13 meetings against the Baylor Bears. Spencer Sanders, a different quarterback this year, much better than Blake Shapen to this point in the season. Over 1,000 yards already and 13 total touchdowns in 3 games for Spencer Sanders. I do think it's interesting that if this game comes down to a last-second field goal, both teams through this first month in the season have only kicked 2 field goals. Baylor 1 of 2, Oklahoma State 2 of 2. So not a lot of field goal traction there. So if it comes down to one team needing a field goal to win, I'd be a little nervous if I was either fan base. But I'm a believer in this offense. Spencer Sanders has got this thing cooking. Oklahoma State is the Oklahoma State of yesteryear. They have revenge on the mind. They should have won last year. The stop at the goal line was insane. They were a college football playoff team if they get in there, probably. Give me the Cowboys to win here. Revenge game. Can't see Gundy going down twice. Can't do it.
All right. Put it on the board. Keeping it moving down to the ACC, we got Wake Forest going on the road in Doak Campbell Stadium, and the Florida State Seminoles are a 6-point favorite.
This is tough because we don't even know when this game's going to be played and if it might get moved and what's going on with the hurricane. Some games are already getting moved. I think Florida got moved to Sunday. I don't know. I'm concerned about this one.
That's a good point. Yeah, I didn't even consider that. I guess it's supposed to move kind of east, right? The hurricane, and that's go up to Orlando, Gainesville, and South Carolina and stuff. So maybe Tallahassee will be all right. So I guess we'll see. But assuming it gets played, what are your thoughts?
I think it's played. I just don't think it's going to be played in the same day, and it might just be weird conditions and stuff like that. This is tough because Wake Forest was right there and really should have beat Clemson. And you look at it and you're like, all right, Wake deserves a lot of credit for coming very close there. The visitor, though, has lost 4 of the last 5 in the Wake Forest-Florida State series. However, Wake Forest has won 2 straight against Florida State. Jordan Travis, though, number 2 in the country in quarterback efficiency behind just Tanner Morgan and just ahead of our 2 quarterbacks, Hendon Hooker and Stetson Bennett. Jordan Travis quietly a great run to start this season for the Noles. This was tough for me because, do I see Wake going back-to-back losses here. Just brutal losses against a really good Clemson team and obviously a really much improved Florida State team. But I think that's what's happening. I think Florida State wins this game at home, moves to 5-0. I think they're cooking with fire here. And Wake is going to just drop some. They're not going to be the Cinderella story from last year where ACC championship team. I think they're a 9-3, 8-4 type team this year. So give me the Noles in a ball control game where they're, I think, top 20 in time possession. Wake in the bottom 10 in FBS. So if Florida State's able to run the football, able to keep long drives and play keep away from Wake Forest, which I think they'll be able to do, I think they play the game they want and win at home. So give me Florida State to win and cover.
Are you doing all right? Was that difficult for you?
With the Sam Hartman
against
stuff?
Your boy Sam Hartman?
Look, I had Stan Cotton on, the voice of the Deeks, yesterday. We talked a lot of Deeks, and look, man, it's tough. The household is still a little shaken, but because I have so many family members who went to FSU, and it's a strong FSU household as well. You met some of them, actually, the FSU alums.
I did indeed. Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. I like how battle tested Florida State is this point in the season. Like they were in a couple dog fights with LSU and Louisville, and then absolutely opened up a can on Boston College, if you will.
Zay Flowers, man, how much money did he cost himself staying at BC and taking the NIL deal and just running it back one more year?
Hey, who knows? Hey, he may have had a little something while at Boston College.
I hope so, man.
That NFL money is there for him. But yeah, I'm gonna take Florida State in this one. I feel like they've looked good so far this year, and yeah, Wake Forest, the defense, I just still can't trust it. So yeah, give me Florida State as well to win and cover. Moving on, we got Texas A&M at Mississippi State. The Bulldogs are a 3-point home favorite over the Aggies. And this is an absolute gauntlet that Mississippi State is about to start. Texas A&M, Arkansas, Kentucky, Alabama, then even Auburn and Georgia after that. So these next 6 straight are just going to be a gauntlet. And this feels like where a Mike Leach team comes up and gets somebody. But I feel like Texas A&M, they're just winning these ugly games. And I feel like with Max Johnson, this team, he feels like a steadying factor for this team. And so with all their playmakers on offense, Max Johnson managing the game, I'm going to take A&M to go on the road and get another win here.
Interesting. They did just lose Aeneas Smith for the season. I don't know if you saw that. He's out for the year. And he was a leader for this A&M Aggie team. Been there for a while. Jimbo had some just really strong, awesome words for him. So losing him's rough. Max Johnson undefeated as a starter. The Maroon Bowl, this should be the 3:30 CBS game in my estimation. Here's the thing, though. Mississippi State, the thing that people are forgetting is Mississippi State's defense is legit. And I think at home, Cowbell City, I think A&M's going to have to score. Like, I don't think they're going to be able to get away with what they've been able to get away with the last couple weeks against Miami, who that does not look nearly as impressive as it did 2 weeks ago. And then just Arkansas having the second half from hell and just really bad luck on the doink. I think people are now overconfident in the Aggies that they figured some stuff out. They should have lost to Arkansas, and the Miami win does not look nearly as impressive with Tyler Van Dyke not even being the quarterback at Miami anymore. And just they're kind of in a tailspin. So I think Mississippi State's still a top 15 team. And when people are like, oh, rank Kansas, rank Mississippi State. Mississippi State's a top 20 team in this country right now. So give me big win for the Bulldogs at home. I think they win, and give me the Bulldogs to win outright.
We got a lot of disagreements on the slate this week.
This is like the make or break moment for the season.
It really is.
Because if I went out big this week, Matt Green, I'm picking everything the same that you do from here on out. Like, I'm just coasting. I'm sitting on the ball. I'm kneeling it for the rest of the way.
Texas A&M did win their last visit to to Davis Wade Stadium, but they lost. They lost the previous 3 before that after joining the SEC. So we'll see what happens. And then the last one, we got LSU and Auburn. LSU at Auburn, I should say. Auburn is a 9-point home dog in this one. And I really have no idea what to expect in this game, even though this is always a great game. Right now, these brands are not where either of them want to be, but 5 of the last 6 matchups in this one have been decided by 1 score. But right now, we don't know who the quarterback is at Auburn. Is Zach Calzada going to get some looks this week?
No, he's out for the year.
Calzada's out for the year?
Yeah.
Now? Oh, we'll see. What are they on 4th string?
That's what I'm saying. They're out.
I don't know whose 4th string is.
I don't know. It's not it. He got some run last week. Auburn quarterback. What is his name? Yeah, he's number 4.
Because I thought Ashford left the game, but he came back. So
I think he's hurt.
Is he out for this one?
Gariner is his name. Holden Gariner.
That's not a good situation for the Tigers. And LSU kind of feels for the Auburn Tigers, I should say. LSU just feels like they're not quite as bad as maybe people expected coming into this season. And the big win over Mississippi State. I think Mississippi State's a better team than Auburn. So, yeah, give me a 2-touchdown win for LSU in this one.
Yeah, I don't see it. I think LSU wins big in this one. The LSU offense is quietly humming. Jaden Daniels is actually putting up some pretty healthy stats right now, so I think LSU wins big. I think Auburn. Is this when Brian Harsin gets fired?
I was about to ask you the exact same thing.
I think it depends on how ugly it is.
Yeah, I think that's probably
because what's the rest
true.
of Auburn's schedule after this?
Oh, I'd have to pull it up.
I'm pulling it up right now. Okay. Yeah, this is it. So we're in the farewell tour for Brian Harsin. So after this game, he goes to Georgia on the road, at Ole Miss, and Arkansas at home, and then at Mississippi State. It's over.
But why fire him after the first one, right?
You just want to get out of there. I think
just see how he maneuvers this little run.
Well, I think it's at
here.
home. That makes it worse. So I think it's one of those where I don't think he gets fired for a road loss at Georgia or something. I think it has to be a home one.
I will say there's at Georgia and at Ole Miss, and then a bye week.
Yeah.
So a bye week, gives you a little extra time, get the interim guy, kind of rally the troops, if you will, kind of get things how you want it. I think the bye week might be a good time to do it. But
that job is going to be so fascinating this offseason.
You like the Deion Sanders name getting thrown out there in that one?
I don't think Deion's. I was literally just talking to Rashad, who used to cover them in Jackson State before we got on here, and Shador is still got, I think, 2 years of eligibility at Jackson State. I don't think he's leaving.
Bring him on over to Auburn.
Well, that's the whole thing. Is I think he would have to bring everybody, and I don't know. I think it would just. I don't know. We'll see. The commitment part of it, and if he's willing to make that jump. Auburn isn't even an AD right now, so they gotta figure some stuff out. I think it's an absolute mess. I do think they're gonna pivot though. You went the outside the box, it's kind of like the Gene Chizik thing, and then you're all right, we got to go back to our bread and butter. All right, Gus Bus, Arkansas high school coach, fun and gun offense. He's gonna do really well in the community, all that kind of stuff.
But he's still outside of the box. He
not really. He's an Arkansas guy.
But he had a couple years as the Auburn OC. But for the most part, he's a high school coach, and he was Arkansas State and everything.
Yeah, but the footprint's there. I just think they're gonna flip back to a Southeastern Conference ties kind of guy. Maybe it's Todd Monken. I don't know. I don't think Mel Tucker's leaving Michigan State anytime soon.
I don't think Todd Monken will be a college head coach personally.
I hope they don't go after Alex Golish. I hope they don't do that.
Monken seems like if he leaves, he'd leave for an NFL job, maybe a coordinator job or something in the NFL. He seems like he's got a pretty solid setup where he does very minimal recruiting for Georgia, and if you're the head coach of a program like Auburn, you have to be hitting the ground running. That recruiting has to be the number one job of whoever Auburn gets. Like,
I mean, the priority is Lane Kiffin. That's the first call I'm making if I'm Auburn. Like, you're not happy about the turnout. Do you think you've reached the maximum of what you can do?
They've done it before.
Yeah.
Tuberville. They poached Tuberville from Ole Miss.
That's true.
Man, that would really add an element to the Ole Miss Auburn rivalry right there.
I mean, Kiffin versus Saban for a couple of years and the Iron Bowl.
Great. Kiffin versus Kirby in the Deep South's oldest rivalry every year. Yeah, that I think would definitely be interesting. Auburn already seemed like a transfer before the portal even happened.
Yeah, give me Auburn here to go after Kiffin. I think that's number one. But LSU blows them out. All right, man. Did we hit everyone?
Yeah, that's all of them.
Well, there's a couple other games going on that we can run through. Michigan at Iowa is something to monitor at noon because it's at Iowa, and that's like one if Michigan gets caught. It gets lost in the sauce in the cornfield of Iowa.
Seems to be tricky for Michigan.
Yeah. Keep an eye on that one at noon.
That's the big noon kickoff. The atmosphere is going to be electric.
For sure. You get Rutgers at Ohio State. That will not be the case. You get Iowa State at Kansas. Sneaky interesting at 3:30. Kansas, biggest test this season thus far at home, trying to stay unbeaten. I think Michigan State at Maryland is going to be fascinating. Michigan State not having the kind of season they want. Maryland coming so close to Michigan last week. Do they bounce back and take care of business there? Let's see. Is there any other big ones that we should hit on as we wrap up here? Georgia at Mizzou. What's the spread there, Matt Green?
It's actually 28 right now. And after seeing Missouri last week versus Auburn, it's just – they look like a really bad football team. And I think Georgia should go in. I think Kenny McIntosh, I think there's talk that he's not going to make this trip. He hurt an ankle last week versus Kent State. But I think for the most part, Georgia actually getting more healthy. I think they had a few guys out. Jalen Carter and A.D. Mitchell were both out for the Kent State game. But, so Georgia actually I think is getting more healthy. But, yeah, I think Georgia's never lost in Columbia, Missouri, and I don't expect that to start in 2022. So, yeah, I think Georgia should go on the road and take care of business.
Yes, that should be the case. But we'll see. We'll see what ultimately happens. I mean, Luther Burden, I'm excited for him to enter the portal. 5-star kid out of Mizzou.
I wonder if people are making too big of a deal of that, like just trying to dissect these 18, 19-year-old social media activity. Like after all those, there's all those LSU players that like cleared their social media after they lost to Florida State, and they all said something about like it's a clean slate or whatever. Like we're 0-0 right now. It's like these guys are just 18. We have no idea why they're making the decisions they are. Like so, I don't know. He said he came out and tweeted something about like he was a Missouri Tiger or whatever. But I don't know. I'm not putting him in the portal right now. He's just 4 games into his college career right now. I don't want to speculate based on his Instagram.
All right, we'll see what happens.
I hope he does. I imagine Georgia was one of the 2 or 3 teams he picked. Hold
on. Tennessee's at the front of this line. But
I'm saying Georgia was a finalist for him when he originally decided. I mean, that's not like debatable. I mean, if like Eric Gilbert, Georgia was a finalist, and
you're
then he
tight
decides
end,
to transfer.
Running back, go to Georgia. If you're a receiver, what are you doing? What more do you need to see right now?
What do you mean? It's like Georgia's got like the number 1 passing offense in college football right now.
I'm saying individually though. We've been over this. The 1,000-yard receiver, the limitate. Like it's just there's no stars. They don't. They just don't maximize.
If you're a
them.
dude, they get you the ball. Like a Brock Bowers last year.
Tight end.
He's a weapon. He's an offensive weapon. You call him whatever you want. Like, I mean, the guy almost had 1,000 yards and like 13 touchdowns last year.
Luther just feels like a Vol to me. He feels like the natural replacement to Cedric Tillman on the outside.
Hey, he could be.
He's not
a
that
Missouri
big, though.
Tiger
like
right now, though.
He's only 6 feet. He's not a big dude.
Yeah, I mean, he's more dynamic, like making plays after the catch. I think he's not a Dorial
Green Beckham, who was huge.
And how'd that work out for him?
That did not go well.
He was one of the bigger busts, I think, as far as being the number 1 5-star receiver. Like Especially that, like, you look like Calvin Johnson coming out of high school. Like, never really got anything from that guy.
Speaking of another one where it was like, how much longer do you see Eli Drinkwitz at Mizzou? Not really going well.
That's one that, yeah, we really haven't talked about at all. And
there's no momentum
this is
there.
what, year 3?
Yeah.
Year 3 is still too early to pull the trigger, but I don't know.
Not
He's one of
excited
those.
right now.
Yeah, he's one of those. He talks a little too much shit to be losing as much as he is. Like, he's got a swagger. Like, I respect it, but like, I don't know. I think the shit talking to Boston College and then losing to them kind of took him down a peg.
I mean, there's just the ceiling. Like, they're kind of screwed. Like the SEC East, like the lower tier schools, like Vanderbilt, they're not to that level screwed. But like, I talk to so many people in this industry, and everybody likes Clark Lee, and they're like, oh, watch out. And it's like, where are the wins coming? Like, the difference is, like, you want to build Wake, you can build Wake at Wake Forest because it's the ACC schedule. Like, you can do that there. Vanderbilt still plays an SEC schedule, and I don't know where the wins come from. You cannot build a Wake in a 10-win Vanderbilt. Like, it's just not, with Tennessee being up, with Georgia being up.
James Franklin did it for
he did it
years
when,
there in a row.
Not when Tennessee, Florida, Georgia were all up. Like, that was not part of it.
But
like,
I mean,
in Kentucky,
right now, Florida's not up.
Well, I mean,
like,
Kentucky's up for Florida.
But at least like Missouri and South Carolina aren't exactly powerhouses or anything, and Florida's not where they should be right now. Like where they
you still have to play a couple SEC
right
West games. Like
no, it's true.
I don't see it. Like I just don't see the path. You got to split them off. You're Vandy. You got to get out of here.
It's definitely a difficult schedule for sure.
Matt Green, we can find you on Twitter at Matt_W_Green. Give him a follow if you have not already done so. As always, if you enjoy our episodes, make sure you leave us a 5-star rating and a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify if that's how you listen. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe on the YouTube channel before you head on over. More to come here on this edition of the show. Matt, down there in Ucla, Georgia, thank you as always, my friend. And for myself up here in Knoxville, Tennessee, that is all we've got. But we'll be back with our Sunday post-game show on Sunday night with our Week 5 recap. Until then, Matt, I will talk to you later.
Yes, sir.
All right, we're back here on the Chase Thomas podcast with two of my favorite ATLians. Rashad Milligan is here. Rashad, you're dancing around Phipps Plaza. You're reeling from just a movie that you can't talk about because you saw it early, so you can't do any spoilers or anything. You can't even talk about it.
Yes, I cannot, according to contract, but it was small. Mm-hmm. It was very scary. I can say that. It's very
That's
scary.
what you can say. It's just that it's very scary. When does it come out?
Friday.
Oh, so this is early. Okay.
Days. It comes out in 2 days.
Okay.
Man, boy, never again, man.
Well, also here, Malik Brown of Rolling Out as well. Malik, good evening, sir. How are you?
What's going on, man? Doing good. I think I guess I'm the calm one today. So
hey.
and congrats to you, Chase. Last time we talked to you, you were a fiance.
I was not a fiance anymore. Married man.
Yes, sir. Leveling up.
Oop, there it is.
Yes. It's a cool feeling. It's a cool feeling. And with that, I had to break my foot to really get into my old age. Is like, hey, you're old enough to get married. You're old enough to break some bones for the first time in your life. Never broken a bone. I broke my foot.
How did you do that? What happened?
I mean, I'm a runner, and I've been running consistently for 16 years now, and basically the math caught up to me of running consistently for a long period of time on the roads. And I don't know if you knew about Knoxville, Tennessee, not the same as Atlanta. You're going up hills. It's a little bit rockier. It's a little bit harder on your body and on your bones.
Yeah.
And I stepped off the sidewalk wrong and just put too much pressure on the top of my foot. And I was wearing these Beats noise canceling headphones, right? Like the Studio 3s.
Yeah.
Really, really good noise canceling headphones. I heard the pop in the head. Like, that freaked me out. When you hear the pop, like, and you had the headphones on, I was like, I'm glad I did not hear. I probably would have passed out if I had actually heard the sound my foot made without the headphones on, because it freaked me out. And but I'm a warrior, man. I did the wedding, did all that, did the honeymoon. We're good to go.
Perfect. Hey, speedy recovery to you. You got to get back on your feet.
Hey, Michael Jordan had the same exact injury I did in 1985, and people have been saying I had, like, the parallels between my podcasting career and Michael Jordan's NBA career. One and the same. So he had a navicular stress fracture in his left foot in 1985, and that he didn't do surgery. He was only allowed. The team did not allow him to play more than 7 minutes a half for the whole season. I didn't know that. 1985, Michael Jordan only played 7 minutes a half when he came back. That's all they would allow him to do.
Did they say that in The Last Dance?
I don't know, because this was like all pre like any kind of contention. Like 1985, I think he was like 22 at that point. He was still so young, but he was like, I'm playing, and they're like, well, can you imagine that now of anyone like you telling a team doctor, you're like, no, I'm playing, and they're like, well, let's negotiate. How about 10 minutes a night? No, how about 9? No, you're just like, all right, we'll do 7 a half, and that's good to go. That's insane that was like what he was able to get, but Michael Jordan built different. This is fun. I like this. We never know what's going to happen here with Rashad bouncing in and out on youtube.com/Chase Thomas Podcast. We are talking NBA on this very podcast because it has been a week for the NBA. NBA Media Day has, I would say, not been great for the league across the board. I don't know. I was texting some friends about it. I'm like, I think there are 2 happy teams right now. The Bucks are happy. Like they seem really content with life and where things are. And maybe the Nuggets, and everyone else is pretty miserable. Like every team, you're just like, oh, the vibes there are terrible. Oh, the vibes there are terrible. Oh, the vibes there are terrible. And then the biggest, we just need to put like a perpetual bogey is never going to feel 100% notice. Like I love Bogdanovich. That man is never going to be 100% healthy in his entire life. Like, I love that dude, but it's like, hey, he's the only one not doing training camp and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, of course he's not. That man has not been healthy this entire time in Atlanta. It's just, he can't. His body can't do it. But I don't know. Like, the vibes at Media Day, quite bad all across the board with DeAndre Ayton and company. Ben Simmons just like, I'm going to play the 5. And you're like, okay, sure. Kyrie Irving, I gave up a 4-year contract because of blah, 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 blah. And then Kevin Durant's like, Markieff Morris, I think, was just that, like, he said something about his own marriage and how it's the same. Like, he made this comparison where he's like, we broke up a bunch of times and the marriage is better off for him. We're like, what is happening? What is everybody saying? And then, just all across the board, LaMelo Ball saying stuff he should absolutely not be saying in Charlotte. You just go up and down the list and you're like, where is the PR department all across the board? What is happening? I don't know. Am I overblowing this, Malik, or did y'all have the same reaction to just every team's media day this week?
I think I did. It's funny because me and Rashad were in the office, and of course, like when the tweets were coming out, I would say something. I'm like, dang, like it just felt like it got worse and worse, like every hour. Like I think the morning it started with, of course, the Nets and Kyrie and Katie talking, and then I think as the day went on, I think the next crazy thing I may have heard was Christian Wood. He didn't know.
I forgot about that. That was like 19 just awkward press conferences ago where he's like, oh, that's news to me coming off the bench. And you're like, oh, cool.
Like, you just traded this guy. You traded Christian Wood to come off the bench for who? JaVale McGee?
Oh, my God. But that's what you saw. Like, JaVale McGee probably was like, hey, I'm going to get my 12 minutes, and that's how it's going to go. Like, not surprising, but it apparently was news to Christian Wood. I mean, I'd forgotten about that one. I mean,
Christian, yep. And then I know you said most of them, but I think the Pacers, Miles Turner was like, this is the last time for the rest of the season I'm gonna address these trade allegations. I've been in trade rumors for like the past 5 years, and all this. I'm like, yo, like it like you said, it's different. Media Day was different this time around.
Everyone wants to get traded. No one's happy with where they're at. I mean, Zion looks great. That was a positive. Zion looks as healthy as he's ever been and looks like he's going to be as dominant as ever. Jokic saying, I want to be the Tim Duncan for Denver. Great vibes there.
Butler.
Yeah, Jimmy Butler.
The look.
Well, he said he was cutting it, right? Like for game 1, he said he was just doing that. What was his reason for that?
He said he supposed to make social media mad or something.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah.
I mean, just an incredible time. Rashad, did you have the same perspective on Media Day?
Yes. Yes, but yes, no. I definitely agree. Like my sentiments are pretty much the same of as Malik's. Like as far as he said it, when talking about the Christian Wood news, and just I don't know. Like I don't think I've ever seen someone right get re-signed
Hmm.
after kind of requesting a trade, requesting more money. They get more money, and then all of a sudden they're not happy. Like
Hmm.
usually people just care about getting the money, and he got the money, and he's still not happy. So it's
So
kind
you're
of
talking about Aiton.
I'm talking about Aiden,
Yeah.
and that was just kind of confusing. And then Kyrie, when they asked him about the trade request, he did all the stuff he did this offseason of like the uh my native tribe. I know myself, Malcolm X, and he's like, don't believe the media, they're
Hmm.
lies and sheep. And he ends up staying in Brooklyn, and he's like, see, I told you guys there was nothing to worry about. And they then they ask him, hey man, were you about to get traded? And he said, yeah, pretty close. So the whole thing doesn't really make much sense. So it's just kind of like media day all around. Like he said, it was crazy. Mo Harkless, the masking.
Yeah, that
Hey
was.
Mo, what are you gonna add to the team, and what are you gonna do for Atlanta? He's like, yeah, I've already done a couple turkey events and giving back to the kids, and I really love the city of Atlanta, but I love playing with Trey and DeJounte even more, and it's gonna be a great time. And then they trade him, so
Cold world, man.
The
yeah,
next day.
it's crazy out here. Yeah, they trade him the next day, so it's
And I thought he was going to play. I thought he had
yeah,
a rotation spot.
yeah,
I did
yeah,
too.
that jump. Well, I mean, because he kind of had to. You think
Yeah.
about who left on Atlanta, and they needed him. So yeah, I don't
Do
know.
we know how to
Just
pronounce the
interesting
new
stuff.
player's name, by the way? Do we know?
Oh
How to
no, not a chance. It's
Dicks.
Fit Radmanovich.
Mhm.
Oh my god.
I don't think that's it. Something tells me that's not it. Yeah, I don't know. Like the Aiton stuff too is just he doesn't want to be there, and like he hasn't talked to Monty Williams, and that's just they're rolling in. They're just like, I'm just here so I won't get fined. Russell Westbrook's like, yeah, they don't want me, but I'm still gonna be here. I'm gonna cash these checks. I'm gonna go play for like until they trade me, but like acknowledging that like, hey, maybe they didn't want me here. I don't know, man. Like this is I don't know how you fix this like across the league where man, that's not the vibe you want coming into a new season with everyone seemingly miserable about their current predicament. And I don't know how you fix it. I just know that that's not really what you want the look to be if you're Adam Silver is just that like every media day where it's supposed to be happy. Like this is the time when everyone should be optimistic. All your teams should be like, we feel great about where we're at. We had a great summer. Like we think we can make the playoffs. We think we can contend if things go our way. And you have every player seemingly just you're fire over here, fire over there, and you're like, oh my god, like this is. Can we have one normal media day for some team? Can we do one normal one? Can someone just say we're really happy to be here and ready for a new season? Can we get one of those? But I don't know.
Media day to me is supposed to give like first day of school vibes. You
Yes.
come back, you haven't seen your classmates and over a couple months, and you come back like, oh, I haven't seen you forever, man. How you?
Yeah.
It's nothing like that. It's like
No.
it's like whatever happened on the last day of school where you had beef with that person.
Mhm.
It's still here the first day of school the next year.
It's so bad. Malik,
Yeah.
something I've been thinking about with the new season, and now that the trades and everything is kind of done, your top four in the West are who right now? If you had to pick who are top four in wins going into this year, who would your top four be? Because I found this exercise to be extremely difficult right now. And I think the East was a lot simpler for me. The West, I could not get my head around the top four. Who is your top four right now? If you had to map it out.
Definitely. So I've already been going on a run.
Uh-huh.
Telling my friends that the Clippers and the Nuggets are going to be in the Western Conference Finals.
Okay.
That's it. So my top two are already going to be the Clippers and the Nuggets.
Okay.
Now it does.
How many games is Kawhi playing this year?
Ooh, good question. I'm gonna go 60.
You think he only needs to play 60 to get number 1 in the West?
Okay, you're right. 65.
I'm saying 70. Like, I think he has to play 70.
He might have to play 70.
The West is loaded. The West has one team trying not to win games next year. The San Antonio Spurs are all in on Victor. Like, they are ready for Victor. That's what they're doing. Everybody else is trying to get the playoffs. Like, everyone else is trying. I don't know, man. Like, I think he has to play 70 to get the number 1 seed.
He might have to. And that's very tough, knowing his past, but I think he can do it. So I'm gonna go Clippers. I'm gonna go Nuggets.
Okay.
3 and 4. Whew. All right. So I'm gonna just put the Warriors 4. I'm gonna put the Warriors 4. 3. I don't trust the Lakers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna go out on a limb on the sand. I don't trust the Lakers. I want to put the Grizzlies there, but I really didn't buy into what they did last year. But I feel like they may be the safe choice at 3. They might be the safe choice. Every other team, I don't believe in the Mavericks like that. The Suns, I just feel like they're just declining. The Pelicans I think they could make the top 4. I think the Pelicans could make the top 4.
Again, Zion plays 70 plus games.
If he plays 70 plus games, but that's my top. I'm gonna go with that. That's my top 4. That's my top 4.
So you're throwing the Pelicans in your top 4?
No.
Okay.
I said possibly.
Okay.
It could make the top 4, but my safe pick was the Grizzlies at 3. So
okay.
Clippers, Nuggets, Grizzlies, Warriors.
I like it. Rashad, what about you?
I have my boy, he told me Zion's locked in, man.
Okay.
He told me Zion's locked in.
Different.
He said this is gonna be his season.
Can we also just point out that Zion did the rare thing where he's like, I'm not going to play until you already give me the Supermax. Like, I'm going to eat whatever and just like do my own thing and really not be available until you actually pay me like this. And then he gets it like in shape. It's a great success story where he's like, hey, give me 300 million reasons to really try to be a member of the New Orleans Pelicans. And they're like, all right, I guess you've put, hey, when you've got us, you got us. We'll do it. Sure. Great.
There is an NFL equivalent to that.
Kyler Murray.
Oh, somebody else?
Who else are we talking about here?
Guys.
Who are we talking about?
He's not playing right now.
Uh-oh.
He's not playing right now?
He's not playing right now.
Who are we talking about?
Colin Kaepernick.
He's in Cleveland.
Oh, we don't have to. We don't know. No, we don't know. No.
That's why I wasn't saying the name. I was
That's true.
It's similar. I mean, it's much worse in real life stuff.
Very different reasons.
Very different reasons. All right. New Orleans Pelicans. I got the Pelicans because my boy said Zion's locked in. So I'm going with the Pelicans, a full season with CJ. BI, we already know what BI can do. They just have I don't know. I really like their group. I'm going to throw them in the top 4. That's the surprise team. That's the last year's Memphis Grizzlies this year.
I like that.
I don't know about Memphis this year just because like Ja Morant literally went to media day with the grill on. And him and his dad went on like a media tour. Like they went on a world tour this summer. Like I'm not feeling so confident about them. Like
wait, you don't like that? You don't like that he's doing all that?
No, I don't. It's not that I don't like it. It's just like I feel like people might get too comfortable once they get to a certain spot, and there's gonna be a hit of reality the next year.
Atlanta.
Look at the Atlanta Hawks last year. Trae Young does this, goes on the Wrestling Mania and does this, and then they get hit with reality. They think everybody's just gonna bow down to them because they made the Eastern Conference Finals the year before, and nobody believed in them, and they were the underdogs, and they said the same thing going into last year, and it didn't work. So I think that's gonna be Memphis next year, or this year. So I got Pelicans 4. I got the Warriors. I don't know if I want to put the Warriors at 2 or 3.
Okay.
And then usually when you do that, they get 1, and then they're like, They didn't think we could do it.
We told you.
I mean, one after the schedule they just went through, the gauntlet, like that's a lot. If they're able to win the most regular season games after just playing the most that's a lot of games, and that's a lot of wins.
And they lost GP too.
They did lose
so
GP.
I'm going. I want to say Clippers number one. Who's it? No. That's Toronto. The team that was in Rico Hines every day. Hey, them jokers, they might get it from going to Rico. Anyways, I really want to say Clippers at 1.
Okay.
But I think I'm gonna go Nuggets at 1. Nuggets at 1. Warriors at 2. Clippers at 3. Pelicans at 4.
I like it. Y'all, I don't think are gonna agree with my top 4.
Okay, go ahead.
And you have, you both did not put this team in the top 4, who I think is going to finish second or maybe first in wins. I think the Timberwolves are in the top.
I was just thinking about them in my mind. I'm not even going to lie to you. I was just thinking about them in my mind.
Like, I don't know where y'all are at with Anthony Edwards, but I think he's going to be the best player in basketball in the next 2 years. Like, I think that's coming. I mean,
I definitely don't see. I don't see that being something crazy.
I mean, there is another leap in what we've already seen to this point where I think he's 20. And I mean, there's the shots there now, the defense, everything with Anthony Edwards is just, the guy is just a superstar. And I think he's healthy, and he's going to be someone who's available and someone who is just going to get increasingly better. Karl Anthony Towns in a much better spot for him now. Just being the number 2 there. And they got thinner on the margins to give up as much as they did for Gobert. But that team, there's never been a more built for the regular season to gobble up as many wins as humanly possible as the current makeup of the Timberwolves. And I think we'll see what happens come playoff time, but I would be shocked if they're not in the top 4. If those 3 are healthy and wins, they're just going to be a pain in the ass on a random Tuesday. Like, you do not want to deal with Cat and Gobert with the Twin Towers there, and then Anthony Edwards just being what he is going forward. Like, I just think it's going to happen. It's the Luka thing and Trey thing, where it's like, if you're going to be a top 10 player, once you make the leap, usually the wins come with it. Like, usually, like, the Zion thing is a big one, where Zion, if he's healthy and the defense gets better, like, he's an immediate top 5 player in this league because he's just unguardable. Like, we've already seen the offensive stuff where you can throw whatever you want at Zion. It doesn't matter. Zion's going to score. So I think it's like one of those two. And you mentioned Memphis. I'm right there with you on Memphis. Like, Jaren Jackson's probably not playing basketball until January. And I've sold all my stock. Like, I sold all of it a year ago on Memphis. Like, this freaks me out. Ja getting hurt again. Ja, the way he plays is so much fun. Ja is great for the community. Love watching Ja Morant play basketball. Ja Morant keeps flying around. And the difference with Trey and smaller guards is just that, like, he's playing like Derrick Rose a little bit. Like, he's flying. He falls really hard. AI was able to stay relatively healthy for a solid 12 years, so maybe Ja can do that, but he's already been banged up. He missed time in the last series we saw him in. Jaren has not played 82 games in several years now. That guy, an amazing basketball player. If you could turn injuries off, I'm all in on Memphis. Like, they are a great basketball team. I am just never going to believe in that core. I think that's why I was like, just sell high on Jaren Jackson this summer. If you can get Kevin Durant, you need to expedite this process, because I don't know how long this core is going to be healthy and have good value, because you see how quickly things can change for these bigs. Like, Kristaps was like a franchise guy, and then a couple years later, it's over. He is just a forgotten piece that everyone's like, oh, this contract's terrible. Like, and then it changes on a dime in the NBA. So I don't have Memphis in the top 4 for me. I have the Mavericks, who I think with Luka is still, they're just going to gobble up regular season wins. Kid and company, I think they're going to be a top 5 defense. And Luka just carries you to a top 10 offense. I think they're going to gobble up wins. And I think Christian Wood's a really good fit for them. So I have Dallas at 4, Golden State at 3, Minnesota at 2, and Denver at 1. I think getting Jamal Murray.
The only one I don't agree with is Dallas. But continue.
What? So tell me on Dallas. Why are you not in on Dallas?
I don't know, man. Like, they just.
I see Luka and a bunch of other guys.
Mm-hmm. That's what it was last year.
But Jalen Brunson leaving, I feel like is a big thing too.
That is one that I am curious to see what that means for them. A lot of Mavs people like their first or late second rounder, Jaden Hardy, who a lot of folks were like, he's gonna be a player.
He's hard.
See, like I think he's gonna play for them.
Hardy's amazing. I've been watching him since high school, man. He's amazing. He was G League at night last year. I didn't know he went to Dallas.
Yeah, see, he fell.
Nah, he's tough.
He's making $1 million for Dallas this year. I don't know. I think you still get Spencer Dinwiddie, you get a healthy Tim Hardaway back. They know exactly who they are. They're not playing any real young guys outside of Hardy. Like it's just one of those teams where they're 3-D. They're gonna Luka's still gonna be a top 3 player in this league, and it's just gonna be enough to win a lot of regular season games. Like I don't see a path if Luka plays 80 that they're not in the top 4. I think they're at that point where Luka just raises the bar for them so high that I don't know. I don't see it.
It's not that crazy when you brought up because Dinwiddie, I forgot, was on Dallas, and he just had a funny media day moment for Dallas the other day. And but with Dinwiddie and THJ coming back, that's a decent squad.
I think they're gonna be all right.
Wood coming off the bench, aka 6'10" Kevin Martin.
6'10" Kevin Martin.
It'd be cool.
Malik, where does Jae Crowder fit? Because he's out in Phoenix. He's not going to be a part of this Phoenix Suns championship caliber roster anymore. And it's interesting none of us threw in the Suns. I think the Suns are going the way of the Jazz. I think we can agree. Like the vibes and everything there is just, this is not ending well. And this, I'm out on the Suns and where they're going. But where do you see Jae Crowder landing, Malik?
I think there's only one option that has been on my mind, and it's Miami. I mean, they lost PJ Tucker, and they literally did not replace him with anybody. Like, if you look at Miami Heat fans, they're still worried about who's going to play the 4. Oh, move Bam to the 4, put Yurt at 5. I don't know if this is going to work, but Jae Crowder has been on the Heat before. He was on the Heat when they went to the finals. I think he just fits their culture, of course, like just the grit and, the hard working. Like, he kind of reminds me of PJ Tucker, honestly. But I think Jay, and I don't know how the Heat are going to do it because I don't know what they're going to give up. Maybe they'll give up. I don't know if I heard that. But no, I think if they're going to give up Duncan, I mean, they can give up Duncan because Duncan looked like he's not going to be playable.
Well, hold on. You're talking about a coworker here. The long shot with Duncan Robinson on the Blue Wire Pod Network.
I'm sorry. But yeah, I think the only choice is really Miami. Like, I don't really see, because he wants to start. I don't know where else he would possibly go and start. But
you know where he'd be fun? Atlanta. Like, oh my God, pick and pop with Trey and Duncan and having to deal with those two. Oh my God, if he was backing up John Collins and we were able to, that'd be fun. Where people are like, oh, but what are the defense? I'm like, man, we are at a point. We better see what happens with DeJounte in the defense. But like, there is a strong part of me that was just, let's just be the number 1 offense for the next couple of years and see what happens. Just surround Trey with nothing but shooters. And if we're 20th in defense, I don't really care. I would rather just be the number 1 offense year over year and just see what happens. I would rather roll the dice that way than trying to be even and try to be like number 5 offense and number 14 defense and see what that does. But I don't know. That'll be the next coach's job after fans lose their mind. Month 2 of Nate not staggering DeJounte Murray and Trae Young, where it's like, oh, maybe this is not the right situation for these two. Like I have a hawk stick, but I don't think Nate McMillan is making it through this year. I think it's just,
that's a hot take. I don't know, but it is a take.
He loves his all bench units. The man loves playing all bench units, and I don't know. I think it's going to be hard to navigate the DeJounte Trae backcourt, and you're going to have to be innovative in a way that I'm not certain he is going to be able to juggle those two superstars who want the ball in their hands. And Trae just saying all the right things right now. But if Trae is playing off the ball and DeJounte is doing stuff that Trae does not like, Trey is going to be like, this is my team. This has to stop. And I don't know. I don't think it's as seamless of a fit as a lot of Hawks fans have penciled in. Like, I think it's a boomer bust situation, and I'm excited to see what happens. It's a swing you had to take after the last couple of years, but it's one of those. It sounds so great in theory, Trey playing off ball, but he has been playing on ball for a very long time and has made a lot of money playing on ball and has gotten a team to the Eastern Conference Finals playing on ball. And you're just asking him to sacrifice in his prime years. And I don't know. It's easier said than done. And we'll just have to see. But Crowder in Miami does seem to make the most sense. And Duncan in Phoenix, I could see that too. And I don't know. I think that makes sense. What about you, Rashad? Where do you think Jae grows?
I like, yeah. One of the teams I was thinking about this earlier tonight. A few of the teams that I was thinking that like fit wise, I don't know like how the money and everything works in Detroit, Boston, Miami, Atlanta, just really those three were the first three to really stick out. And like Miami for the exact same reasons that Malik said, losing PJ. Boston, I'm looking at from a contender standpoint, the way kind of their wings are and everything like that. When you think of Marcus, when you think of those tweeners, those like kind of guys that could do a little bit of everything. When you think of the young guys and everything like that they also have, I feel like Crowder is just like an older version of that. You can plug them in. You can plug them in really any contending team outside of, I would say, Philly. You can't plug him in there. I don't know if he really works in Brooklyn. But yeah, like you could plug him pretty much in any contending team and it works. So that's what I was thinking. I was just thinking East Coast teams that are really kind of like in the mix. And I think that's where he'll fit best.
Yeah. And we'll see. I'm going to go. My gut just says Miami is they just fill that natural void because they didn't really do anything this offseason. They were like, we'll try getting Kevin Durant or somebody else. And that didn't happen. So they're just like, we'll find a 1 year stopgap. And that is Jae Crowder. I would not be surprised.
So you think for who?
Duncan doesn't sound crazy. Like Duncan seems like the odd man out there, but he's making a lot of money. And I think the money matches with those two, right?
He got what? Did he get
Crowder's getting paid?
No, I think Crowder already did. What is his contract?
No. I mean, like I didn't know he was getting paid like that. Like, because
he's got $10 million on an expiring. So he's got $10 million on expiring, and Duncan's making 16. So it's pretty close. And if you literally just did, you probably have to send. Man, they have a lot of guys you can't really trade yet. Like Caleb Martin is someone you would wait to move. They like Caleb, but you can, I don't know. Well, you need to move 4. Yeah, that's a little bit more. I mean, Caleb Martin would probably have to be in the deal if you did this. Or Dwayne Dedman, but Dwayne Dedman I've reserved as a future Atlanta Hawk, who never should have left the Atlanta Hawks. Dwayne Dedman is my favorite big, who the Hawk, like Dwayne Dedman's my guy. Like him and Trey had unbelievable chemistry. The pick and pop big, him just ruining the Hawks first round series with him playing important minutes for the Heat was rough for me. Like as a Dedman guy,
it felt like it didn't work the second time they tried it though.
Yeah.
Like it didn't work as well, like on that, because that was like Lloyd Pierce's bread and butter, the stagger up there with Dedman and who was the other big though? I guess it would be Collins.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then Collins will roll and Dedman will pop, or both of them will pop. Like, I mean, that's all the Hawks did every single play.
Yeah.
And it worked the first time with but then second time around, it seemed like he was missing the jumpers, and I'm like, dang, what happened to you offensively? He still had the defense, but like the offense just kind of evaporated. And but yeah, no, I'm going on a tangent there about that.
Rashad, do you think SGA makes sense for the Raptors?
Yes.
Okay. What would it cost to get SGA?
You probably have to give up Malachi. This thing about Malachi. I'm trying to think. Fred?
Oh,
Fred hurts.
SGA is almost an all-star, right? He's a borderline all-star guy right now.
You might.
He was the guy I was pushing for the last 2 years for the Hawks to trade for. That was the one I wanted to pair Trey with. DeJounte's fine, but I'm a big SGA guy. Man, Fred VanVleet would hurt. That is a risky culture move.
I mean, but
if you're Toronto.
but that's what it will take to get him, right?
Yeah, because you're not
An
moving
all-star
Siakam, right?
And
I don't
another
think
all-star.
I would probably lean OG as the one to move in this situation, where I would be like, hey, like, I guess it just depends on what OKC sees in OG. Because I don't really know if they want to get in the business of paying Fred VanVleet in his prime like this when they're not trying to win games right now. Like, I don't know if he makes the most sense. Like, OG is a good bet, and he's also making like $17 million. Maybe you take in Gary Trent's contract too, but I don't know. I think it's more about the picks. And then, I mean, they probably asked for Scotty Barnes, and you're like, all right, well, it's been a pleasure talking to you guys over there in Oklahoma City, but that's where this call ends. Yeah, I don't know. That's tough because if you move SGA, it's going to be one of their important pieces. It's just the culture aspect of it, where you built this thing, and
he's the middle of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Malik, what about you? What do you think?
I understand the all-star for an all-star, but just like the way OKC is right now, like I don't think they're really committed to winning. So Fred would just be like, why did we just trade for this guy? We're not even trying to win. So I would say either OG or Scotty. But I honestly feel like they'll ask for Scotty. I honestly think it would, but Scotty's
you can ask. You can keep asking all day. You can text Sam Presky and text Masai all he wants. You're not getting Scotty.
If it was for like, I guess to match contracts or whatever, because I mean Scotty's still on his rookie contract. It would have to probably be OG and like somebody who else on their team, like Rashad said, maybe Malachi. I don't know how much is Thaddeus Young still on the Raptors or did he leave?
That's a good question. Did he get re-signed? I mean, I saw that Twitter video of him talking about like getting paid and doing.
You don't have to average 20 points to play 15 years, young boys. I love this. I played on this goal since I was 5 years old.
But shout out to him. It's worked. But also you have to have that mindset where it's so much easier said than done. Where Thad was like, nah, I'm not a star. Like I got to do other stuff and I'm just going to get paid doing other stuff for a long period of time. But a lot of guys, it's just tough for them to get to that point where they're like, I'm not a star. I am a role player and I can get paid and do well doing this other thing, but I have to transition. But that was like, I transitioned. I was good. And I've just been doing my thing for 12 years now? 13? How long has he been in the league?
Minute.
It sounded like he said 15 on that video.
Did he say 15?
It sounded like that's what he said on the video. 15.
Has it been that long since he was at Tech?
And I was about to say, like, I remember him in college, like, but that's how I feel with everybody now. Like, I remember LeBron in high school.
Yeah, can you imagine being the coach for Bronny James for a year in college? Can you imagine? Like LeBron's just roaming your practice and like roaming your sidelines, and then there's like oh my god, what am I blanking on? The agent,
Rich.
Yeah, Rich Paul, on the other side of the court, just watching to like, because it seems like he's gonna go to Oregon, like the Nike connections and everything. It feels like he ends up at Oregon if he goes anywhere.
Or Ohio State.
Ohio State's pressure though. I keep him away from there. I
don't think he's going to NC Central, unfortunately.
No,
unfortunately, because I mean, like, LeBron was, George Floyd happened. LeBron was like, man, I wish we could do it all over again. I go to an HBCU or Akron State. LeBron, you weren't going to the University of Akron, and you weren't going to an HBCU, bro. You were going to UNC or Ohio State.
Travis Hunter did it though.
Yeah, he did.
Travis Hunter did it.
I don't think Bronny is. I think Mikey Williams is going to do it. I think Mikey Williams is going to pull the trigger, but I don't think Bronny is. I mean, because Bronny hasn't even taken any visits or any, you know what I'm saying? Unless he like pulls a Travis Hunter and is like, has the Oregon, Ohio State hat and then maybe like a G League hat. And then like, he's like, wipes the table. Yeah, NC Central, let's go.
Well, I think I wonder if part of the issue though is for those West Coast kids it's just that's the other side of the country. Family can't come. It's like, I mean, I understand that they have the means to get back and forth, but I think that is part of it. Like Travis Hunter is from Collins Hill. Like it's not that crazy to go from like you just came from Mississippi to Atlanta. Like like there is a difference between flying across the country from California, asking a California kid to go to an HBCU because just there's so many in the Southeast and on the East Coast. Like that's just the other side of the country.
Yeah, Josh Christopher, remember, took that visit to Howard, and he was strongly considering it. And I think the only reason why he didn't do it was because that distance. It should have been also because Howard doesn't have the. If you're going to go to an HBCU as a basketball player, you need to go to Central, in my opinion. But I mean, I don't know. Like Mikey's taking the visit to JSU, and they got Mo Williams now. So I think
he's at ASU, right? Alabama State.
No. He's at JSU now.
Oh, did Mo Williams leave?
He flipped.
I didn't know that.
So they made Jackson State made their coach retire, and they hired Mo.
That is a good, 1-2 combination with Dion, and
that's exactly why they did it, because Mo Williams, his cousin, was Dion's assistant, who now she moved to Alabama State, so they kind of like did a swap in exchange. I don't know if the NCAA wants to look into that.
They played Tennessee in the regional. They played in
the
Super regional.
Alabama State just got a good athletic program in general.
Where is it in Alabama?
Montgomery.
It's in Montgomery. Okay.
So right on that line. Another place where I used to live, close to there. An hour north of that, in Valley.
There you go. Which one was Hendon Hooker's brother played it? I think NC Central. Is that right? Is there an NC Central too?
Yeah, NC Central is the best college program for HBCUs.
Okay, then I think that's where he was.
That's Lavelle Matan, I believe that's how you pronounce his last name. Went to the same high school as Nate McMillan. Chris Paul's boy. He's got them boys right. Like his goal was to get to the Sweet 16 a couple years ago. It didn't happen, but he's the coach that you want to play for. That's the program that McCord should have went to. But he went to Howard because Howard's a bigger name in HBCU land. But they just don't have, what I'm saying?
Sports infrastructure.
The structure, exactly. So, I mean, NC Central is a school you want to go to as a basketball player if you want to play for a HBCU.
And then, the thing with Dion, when people are throwing that out for Tech, which I think would be super cool, Dion at Tech would be cool. But I think what people miss, and I think just talking to folks, and you were in there, Rashad, Dion's invested in Jackson, and
I think it's kind of like he wants to prove everyone wrong.
Yeah,
because he started off, when Shador, his youngest son, when Shador was junior, senior, he's been saying ever since then that he wanted to coach in college once his son was done in high school. So he's going around saying this for years. He gets interviews with large programs. They don't give him the time of day. It's like they entertain it. They leak it out to the media that he interviewed with them just to get some clout. And then but they really didn't take it seriously. So, what I'm saying? He took that personally. So he was like, I'm going to take this school. I'm going to make it lit. I'm going to make it the best thing, I think it's kind of like him flexing his ego. But
he's also genuine. What he does in the community, he cares. And I think people throw it around. I'm like, I think it's going to take a big job to pull Dion away from Jackson. I think he's content for a while. I
also think it's going to take a couple years.
Yeah.
Just for his kids to get out. I think Shiloh, since Shiloh's hurt, I think Shiloh got an extra red shirting year. So Shiloh might be only a sophomore, even though he's played 3 years of college football. Shador, of course, has 2 more years left. I don't know if he gets that COVID. No, he doesn't get that COVID. Yeah, he's racking up. And side note, rest in peace, Coolio, man. Coolio died at the beginning of us recording. I got a text message, man. Oh. So rest in peace, Coolio. Yeah, man. But Shador has a couple years, and then his daughter's a freshman. On the women's basketball team. So she has 4 years. So if you just look at kind of coaches, kind of history, he stays all 4 years with his kids. Even when he got the job at Jackson State, it happened during his son's senior year. And he was like, I got to finish his senior year before I move to Mississippi. So I think that's what's genuine.
Family's number one for him. He's not. Yeah. I don't know. Also, the weird part about the transfer portal and everything, It's like if you pull like Florida, it's not Florida State because they're having a great year, but like if you're Tech or something, you're getting Travis Hunter probably in this now, where you get the waiver, so you're getting like this whole the avalanche of all these transfers and dudes who want to play for Dion, and we'll see. I mean, you got Hugh at Grambling State, like we'll see.
But the thing is though, Chase, Dion's trying to get to the FBS.
Yeah.
Because if he does, he gets a $300,000 raise bonus. Like if they switch conferences out of the SWAC, they get a raise. So he's been talking about he's been wanting to go.
Where would they go though?
I don't know. But if they move, he gets his raise. JSU gets more resources, more scholarships, right? Mm-hmm. Because right now the only reason why they can't compete with the big schools is not because of talent. They got 3 5-stars and so. Probably,
but FCS gets what, like 60 something, and isn't it limited? It's something like 60 or 50 something.
It's very limited, limited compared to the Power Fives. Mm-hmm. So if he gets in one of those FBS programs and gets more scholarships available to him, he's gonna fill that out, and that's a roster that can compete with anybody. And then you're talking about, okay, what is it? No, he's gonna get even more recruits now, because a lot of the recruits that might be holding off is like, the competition, what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. The competition, or, I'm going to be stuck here in the SWAC. No, you can play now on the FBS level on a weekly basis. What would Dion even want to leave at that point? More money will be the only thing. If all his kids have graduated in 4 or 5 years, he's got the new stadium built, and it's the only thing that will pry him away is more money at that point. And that's like, you're talking 4 or 5 years down the line at that point. So, I mean, yeah, he's there for at least another 4 or 5 years.
Well, there you go. We ended on the Jackson State conversation, but it's part of it, man.
Well, what else was didn't we have another NBA topic?
Oh, Lonzo Ball, never playing basketball again.
Lonzo Ball, man. He can't even walk up the stairs. It's a sad thing. I got my ZO2s. Y'all make sure y'all support the Big Baller brand. I do.
Okay.
They're like 120, bro. Yeah.
Are they comfortable?
Yes, very comfortable. Okay. Wear them all the time. They look amazing. Malik seen me with them on. I wear them a lot.
Okay.
Beautiful shoes. Jellos, the G3s, they're also about 120 now. The only shoes that are 500 and up still are Lavars, So, yeah, they're very affordable. Didn't really get publicized when they came out with an affordable shoe. But these cars are circling around me. But yeah. Anyways, that's a side note on the business side of things. Shout out to LaMelo, man, doing the thing. He said he was going to be the best. They said he was going to be the best, and he ended up being the best. Lonzo, how does that affect Chicago's season? Man, you got my boy AC. Shout out AC, man, the Great White Hope. Man,
I love that he was not allowed to change his jersey number because he's selling too much.
Like,
that is amazing.
Right?
Shout out to Caruso.
But wouldn't it like increase, like, that's why LeBron switches jerseys, like, because it sells more jerseys if he changes his number.
Yeah.
But like, so I thought that was.
Well, speaking of, is LeBron 23 or 6 this year?
He's 6, right?
So he got grandfathered in. Did he get grandfathered into the Bill Russell stuff?
The Bill Russell thing.
Because he put that in before Bill Russell.
But someone was trying to wear 6, right, to honor Bill Russell. Who was that around the league on a new team? He went to a new team.
DeAndre Jordan.
It was like, I remember it was a random player, and he's on the Nuggets now.
Yeah.
And he said, I want to wear it to. I'm like, bro, like, you're
not even playing. Yeah. You don't need a number.
Bill Russell rolling over in his grave, bro. He said, also, y'all gonna let DeAndre Jordan? Hey, nah.
Love Bill. Does it make sense that every team in the league has to retire number 6?
Whew. And Bill is pretty legendary. I mean,
but like 6 gone across the league, no one can wear it. 6.
Is he Jackie Robinson? Like,
yeah, like Jackie.
He did a lot. Like Bill. Yeah. Bill was close to Jackie. Like when you're talking about, okay, like this man sat out of the game in a preseason because like they wouldn't let his boys, eat at the diner, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's big. Before he even got in the league, he demanded a trade from the Hawks because St. Louis is racist. So like there's a lot of Jackie Robinson stuff in there. The whole thing of them vandalizing his home when he was gone. So it's a lot of Jackie Robinson-esque stuff in his story. I don't know, man. I feel like the Finals MVP named after him is enough. Like,
Yeah.
you know, and he got to see that when he was living. He got to give it out to a few players while he was living. I like that. I don't think that, you know, you should do something extra like that when he dies just because he died, right? Like,
Well, it's also like kind of nice. I don't know if this is the right way of looking at it, but like if a player like with DeAndre, like we're joking about DeAndre repping it, but like if a lot of dudes looked up to Bill and they want to honor Bill Russell, like wearing the uniform and just talking about like why number 6 is important to them, I feel like that would have a bigger impact, right? Like just being like, Bill was my guy and I'm wearing this number for Bill Russell's legacy. And like that keeps it going because it's like, why are you wearing 6? Oh, 6 is because of this.
But look, the 6 is already on.
That's true.
On the sleeve right
and
there.
It's struggling over there because they have the Jumpman logo and you're just like, there's no space for any of this. It looks so weird. The Suns one, it's like clipped off where I'm like, oh, this is not, they have too much going on now.
We're getting to the point where the WNBA jerseys, like it was redone in 180. The WNBA jerseys look better than the NBA jerseys, and the NBA jerseys look like NASCAR shirts now. But where was I going with that? Kobe Bryant. Chase, going back to 2020 discussion, do you think Kobe Bryant should be changed to the logo?
No.
Why not?
I mean, look, I got a Kobe stuff. Like I got a lot of Kobe stuff in my house. Love Kobe. I also just, I mean, it's tough because like so much of it is just the dumb nostalgia where it's just like I associate the NBA with the logo. Like it's just the logo. Like I didn't even know who Jerry West was when I like am watching the NBA and I like identify with that logo. I think that's a huge risky proposition to throw that out and throw something else in where people might have to double take of like, who is that? And I don't know, like there's something about it where it's just dumb. Like my brain is nostalgic about something that makes no sense. It's just stupid that my brain just thinks of that logo being, it's literally called the logo and he has been the logo, where you're like, does it matter that much? And does it make more sense to give it to Kobe? Like, would I be upset? Like anyone who has like a strong take on this stuff need to reevaluate their lives. Like it's just not that serious, but like, would it affect my day? No. Would it be cool? That's fine with me. Like I'm fine with either. I just think from like a branding perspective, like it would be wild to think of the NBA logo with a different silhouette. Like that would take a lot of time to get used to.
Let me take you back, Chase. 2006, October 2006. The NBA, David Stern thinks it's a grand idea to reinvent the NBA basketball. How did you feel that month?
Well, I've never been asked this question. I have no idea how to answer that, Rashad.
I'll tell you what I thought. I thought it was ugly and I hated it and I never got used to it. And everybody else complained about it and they changed the basketball back. And I was so happy because it was like, if he changed it at the NBA level, what does that mean for us? Like every hooper has to get new balls now. Yeah.
Are you a Spalding or a Wilson guy?
Spalding.
See, I've always been Wilson. Wilson's the one I will go to my grave that Wilson has. I shoot better with Wilson. It's like it flows better. I can see it. Like there's something about Wilson that just always felt better for me. Spalding was a little bit rougher. Like I feel like Wilson's were just a smoother handle and smoother coming off your hand. I don't know. That's me.
No, I'm a Spalding guy. I think it's
Malik,
I think it's just a name brand thing.
Spalding. I'm Spalding for sure.
Interesting. Okay. I always like the WNBA ball too, though. I like the color on the WNBA ball. I like the contrast. I think it looks cool. But I don't know. Malik,
this is about Chicago. I'm
sorry. We're done.
Man, the Chicago Bulls ain't gonna do nothing without. I know. I think they're about the same team, I guess, that they were at the end of the season. They had no Lonzo then.
I just feel bad for him. Like he did surgery and then he rehabbed and did everything else, and he's just like, I still can't run or anything. Like that just sucks. Like it really, really sucks. So like Chicago fans, stop getting onto Lonzo because I think he was getting a lot of heat by not being available, and it's like that dude is going through hell just trying to get back. Like that sucks.
Yeah. I mean, I think they say he hasn't played since January.
Yeah.
gosh.
Because I think he had surgery around then, either January or February, and then all this rehab, and it still just isn't working. And now he has to have surgery again. Like the frustration of doing the surgery right away and then going through all this PT and then still not working. I mean, that I just could not imagine. That man has been doing nothing but just riding. Like as a person with a foot fracture right now, dealing with something like that in your knee for 9 months, that's got to be just insane. And I love watching Lonzo play, and he's really come into his own and figured out who he is as a basketball player post LA. Malik, what can the good folks check out from you from Rolling Out, Peachtree Hoops, everywhere else this week?
Man, well, Peachtree right now we're doing player previews, so we're knocking those out before the season starts. So you guys can check me out there. Rolling Out, man, I really can't even give you one main thing. I'm kind of doing a lot of stuff, so whatever you need, I got it.
There you go. And then, I mean, we got Rashad for Rolling Out doing, I mean, he is out here reviewing films. Like, who knows what he's going to be doing around Atlanta for this magazine. You never know where you might see him out at.
That thing, man, that film right there, never again, bro.
Don't get fired, Rashad.
And it was a coworker's fault, too. It's go, never again, bro. But, man, Chris Williamson has bullied me into, like, being semi-active on Twitter again. So I'm logged in. I still spend most of my time on timelines on the Armchair account, but I'm logged in now to my Twitter. So I'm on the Twitter. So
you're on Rashad Milligan.
Yeah, I'm on my Twitter because Chris Williamson has bullied me into it. And so I hate it. I absolutely can't stand it. And then I'm also like, it's also, a lot more people reach out now on DMs. So it's just kind of easier to, at least have the account open to see like, okay, if someone DMs me, I won't reach back in 2 months and be like, my bad, bro. But yeah, so Rashad Milligan, that is my Twitter.
There you go.
And every now and again, I say probably every couple of weeks, I'll probably be like uploading a random thread of a bunch of random stories. Like Malik said, from Rolling Out, I want to get back into Peachtree, but the Rolling Out dynamic with the Hawks is a bit weird right now. So we're trying to figure that out to allow me to still do Hawks stuff. But I want to cover the league right now because this will be my 8th year. I think 8th year. 8th year, yep. I always have to do it by my age. So like 8th year before 28. That's always been my thing. So I would love to cover the league for my 8th year. And,
wait, 8th year before 28th what?
So my 28th birthday.
So you didn't start at 28.
No,
you're not 30. I'm like, you're not 36. I was like trying to figure out the math. I was like, from when you're
no.
Okay, the way you phrased that, I was like, whoa. There's no way Rashad's older than me.
My bad. No. So my 25th birthday, when I was 24, it was my 5th season. I was like, it's my 5th season covering the league before 25.
Okay, I get you.
So this will be my 8th season covering the league before 28.
Oh, you're closing in on 30. You're closer to 30 than you are 20, Rashad.
100. Oh, no. I've accepted that.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
It's good. Acceptance is good.
It is what it is.
Age comes for us all. Rashad, Malik, thank you as always for making the time. It's great reconnecting with you guys, and I'll talk to you both again soon. All right, hello, and welcome back. Chase Thomas Podcast, taping this on a Wednesday afternoon. Drew Magary is back of Defector.com, a very good website that you should go subscribe to if you are not already. Drew, good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Good. How you doing, man?
Not too bad. I read your piece this morning on Brett Favre, and
I love Brett Favre. Big fan. Love
I want to start because we're going to talk some NFL and some Brett Favre, but I wanted to pick your brain on something, and
Sure.
it's interesting that this is the discourse, and like I try and stay off social media and just it's not good. There's better ways to use your time and to write and read and do other stuff, and we're all busy guys, and I just try not to get caught up in the minutia there. But one of the things I've noticed with Brett Favre over the last couple of weeks is that like the Ime Udoka stuff broke, right? And something that I'm seeing on Twitter is that like there is this collective idea of like we can only care enough about one thing, and you need to focus on this thing because this is the most important thing. This is worse than this other thing. And it was weird because everyone was like, why is no one talking about Brett Favre? And then you're like, well, I mean, here's an article, here's this. People are talking about Brett Favre. Like, it's still going on. And my whole thing was just that, like, and you talk about this with Brett Favre as him just being kind of a has-been. He's out of the league. He's retired. He's just, he is a dad trying to get a volleyball facility built.
Right.
And you look at all of this stuff and you're like, well, it's kind of boring. The story is just sad. It's gross. It's reprehensible, but it's also just not what's going on with the Udoka stuff, right? Where it's just, whoa, what's going on here? He is the active coach of a franchise where they were just in the NBA Finals, and now he's gone for a year, and we still don't really know what's going on. And that's like what was the predominant conversation. But it turns out
what's interesting is that that's kind of died. Like, we still don't know, but I don't really, I don't hear people, dying to know the details anymore. Like, we had Stephen A. Smith blow up about it. Without really knowing, like, you could tell he wasn't even sure what point he wanted to make as he was talking. But in the meantime, more and more reporting has come out about Favre, and you're right. It's been, distressingly familiar because we've had this sort of grift going on now.
Yes.
Since the Trump administration, but really for much, much longer than that. So it's not. It is so familiar that I think it's almost easy to dismiss because. Because other, more prominent people and more powerful people have been caught doing even worse and have skated. So it's like, it's almost like I can't pay attention to that because I'm just going to end up getting pissed off when nothing happens to the fucker.
That's a good way of putting it, where there's like this apathy towards it where you're like, well, we'll see what happens, but I'm not holding my breath that something comes of what's going on here. And the details keep getting worse, but you're like, and you illustrate this in the point where I think we've been desensitized a little bit to people of this ilk just getting away with it. They just get some bad press for a while, and then it just goes away and people forget, and then we just move on. And it's really disheartening. And like you said, you just get really annoyed and really pissed off for a while, and then you're like, all right, now what? Now what do I do?
Yeah, because I remember that was all during the Trump administration. Half of all the tweets were stop normalizing X, Y, Z, and like it's a nice sentiment and all, but it wasn't anything all that new for people who have been around. And also the other thing is, what are you gonna do if you just stay angry the whole time? Like, there's no real good outlet for it. And it ends up being more detrimental to you to be pissed about it than it does to the person who, who should be the target of your scorn, So anything that I say about Brett Favre being a corrupt bastard and a shithead and all that stuff, all that's true. But it's not going to ultimately move the needle as to whether or not he faces any consequences for all the horrible shit he's done.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll see what happens, but I'm not holding my breath on this one.
No, I mean, you never should. It's always like whenever someone faces actual consequences, you're always like, whoa, hey, wow. Robert Sarver actually is selling the sub.
Well, that's the Udoka thing. He got a year suspension. We just don't see that. Like, what? This is Robert Sarver actually being forced to sell? Like, that's wild. That is a wild development that your eyes just get drawn to. And it's also just that, like, we're human beings can care a lot about a multitude of things at one time. They can care about one story and another story and be like, hey, this is interesting, this is messed up, let's talk about that. Like, you can have more than one interest in a story. It's not like one thing has to be the forefront, and you can't
it was an old I think it was Obama. I don't mean to keep bringing it back to politics, but I remember someone was saying, oh, how can you do this, and this? And he's like, well, people multitask. And
yes.
So that's what I have to do. And I was like, oh, yeah, all right. Yeah. I mean, that it's true. Yeah, you multitask, and that's true in terms of your mind, too. Your mind is operating, it's doing a few different things at once. It's not just when you think about something, you're not necessarily thinking about one thing. You might have a couple things, sort of bouncing around in there. And that's totally natural and totally fine. That's how your mind works.
Well, you had a really good piece, I guess this was a little while ago, Drew, that I still go back to and cite, like, with my own writing. And when I think about ways I can improve and just kind of evolved as a writer, and I'm wrapping up grad school here at UT. And
Hey, congratulations.
thanks, man. Got married a couple weeks ago.
Hey, well,
Broke my foot, which was not great, but I got
that part sucks. Boo.
That part is, I'm telling you, man, you don't realize how much you need your foot until you cannot walk on said foot, or you need a boot, and it's just like this whole thing. Showering, a disaster, Drew.
Ooh.
Showering is the one major part that I did not.
Did you have to get a stool?
I feel 78 years old, Drew, because I'm sitting on a little chair stool thing in the shower.
I got out of the hospital once, and I had to do that, and I hated the stool.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Like, you feel so helpless. You're just like, what am I supposed to do? You just don't want to get out of bed because you're like, I got to go get in this stool in the shower. Suddenly
it feels like a prison shower or something.
Yes.
I don't know why. It's
not great. There's no way to make it great either. There's no way to spin it. You're just going to be sitting there just feeling pretty helpless. But you had this piece about writing and like advice for writing. Yeah. Now that we're in September 28th, 2022, is there anything you would want to add to that now that you've learned over the last couple of years that might be fruitful for aspiring writers?
I've been endeavoring more to make the stuff I write more spare. I don't always succeed in that, particularly because blogging, like I have a certain voice, and that's going to remain consistent because that's what people want at Defector, and that's a style I'm comfortable in. But I've been noticing a lot more, particularly when I watch movies and TV. I'm really drawn to works where the dialogue is pretty minimal, and I don't mean like in a Stallone movie sort of way, but like a lot of times, like I'll put it. I'm reading the book Heat 2, which is a sequel to the movie Heat, but it's a fucking novel, and it's written by Michael Mann, so it's like,
oh, I didn't know this existed.
It's the guy who knows, right?
Yeah,
and it's a fucking great book. It's awesome. And all the sentences are extremely short. Like, it's written almost like stage directions for a screenplay, which makes sense because that's Michael Mann's preferred medium. But you notice like the dialogue between people, it's very curt, and you get a better sense of the character when not everything is a sassy one-liner, right? When they choose to say nothing, or they choose to only say one word, but that one word conveys a lot more from the look in their eyes and things like that. So, that I think that is, something I want to aspire to, but I think that's going to take time and me ingesting more material like that. I'll end up reading what I'm saying is I'm going to read Heat 2 like 10 times before I'm finished.
Huh. Is that, in your writing, do you think it's better to have short sentences? Do you think it's better to write in that style for the reader, or do you think it just depends?
Yeah, well, in certain ways, yes. Like, certain ways it can be very hacky, like the Bill Plaschke, like everything's a one-sentence paragraph. Like, that's bad, right? Sometimes you're going to need a bit more room to sort of make the point or to get, the idea across. That's always going to be true. But you do not have to say everything. And, that's a difficult habit to break for me, someone who, started his entire blogging career essentially spilling the beans about every goddamn thing he sees and does and all that stuff. But the more you leave out, the more you leave to the reader to sort of fill in. And I remember it was an old piece of ad advice that I was told about print ads, where you don't want to complete the entire circle for the reader. You want to do it like 3/4 of the way so that they can make the final connection themselves. It's always better. So I try, I like it when sentences do that. And I do appreciate, as a reader, periods, like when fancy writers like Michael Chabon and stuff like that, when they write like sentences that last like 5 pages, I'm like, fuck you, man. Like, give me a chance to breathe. Like, that's not like, you're showing off, and that's very impressive and all, but you do have to remember that people have to read this crap. So it's always good, I think, to give the reader a breath and to sort of look at it through their eyes. Not too much so. You're not writing, you're not doing fan service or anything like that. You have to read it. You have to write it the way you would want to read it,
Yeah. now that you've written several novels, Drew, and written a gajillion blog posts and really found your voice in your blog posts, what do you find you get more enjoyment out of? Do you enjoy more of the writing novels or your mailbag pieces, or is it just different kinds of fulfillment?
They're different. I mean, you think of it as like exercising, like different. If you cross train, that's really a stretch. But if you're doing different physical activities, each one's rewarding in its own way, and it works out different muscles. So it's good for you to sort of have that variety. Same thing with writing. To do. Even within blog posts, I'll shift tones. So I'll do something serious, I'll write something pretty, and then I'll write something sort of scathing, and then I'll write something funny and sort of stupid, and all of that is rewarding. I think the most rewarding thing is, I don't think it would be a surprise to tell you that it's really cool to write a novel and finish it. Not for the accomplishment of it, although that's always cool, but just going through. Sort of entering your own little sort of world in your head and staying there for a while and living in that space, over a long amount of time, I think is actually, I really enjoy it quite a bit. I've always, I don't really like writers who always piss and moan about how much they hate writing. Like and that actually has been true of novels because, I think novels are, I think they're intimidating to write, and rightfully so, because they're long, right? It's a lot of words you got to write. But once you sort of get into the rhythm of it and you're sort of living in that world, you almost sort of forget about the writing part, and you just sort of are working with it, or sitting in the theater of your mind. And that I enjoy that a great deal, but I enjoy other shit too. I love it all. I think it's great.
What's harder, doing the nonfiction or fiction novel?
Doing fiction, because I've written 3 nonfiction books. One was a gag book, and the other 2 were memoirs. But with memoirs, the material is already there. Like for the first memoir, well, my son almost died, and so that sucked. But the material was already there. And then for the next memoir, I almost died, which was not fun to live through. But everything was like, the world is already constructed for you because it's this world, right? So, whereas a novel, you have to create your own world, even if it's within this one. You have to have, you have to think about the place, you have to think about the characters within it, you have to think about how they interact, you have to think about the logistics. Like, it sounds weird, but there are a lot of character logistics to run through. Like, okay, how can this character be in X place?
Especially in the hike.
Yeah. Well, the hike sort of cheats all that, right? Because it's a fantasy book. But like all that stuff, even then, I found myself running myself into corners that I had to sort of figure my way out of. And like at times that used to be a bit annoying. Torturous is way too strong of a word. But then other times it's almost like a puzzle you solve when you finally get the hang of it. And that can be quite rewarding as well. I also like investigating stuff. Like this spring, I did a lot of actual honest to God journalism, and I enjoyed that quite a bit because it's nice to tell other people's stories and not your own.
Yeah. Which naturally leads us to the Minnesota Vikings. Drew.
Sure.
How are you feeling? Like, great win on Sunday afternoon. Pulled it out of your ass. Like, it was the Vikings 2-1. Like, they're okay.
They're okay. I mean, they're pretty much what I expected, where they didn't turn over the roster all that much from the past 2 years when they lost 9 games each of those years. So it was a flawed roster. It's not, they were going to, they are an 8-9, 9-8 team. They just happen to have a better coach, or at least a nicer coach. But he's a new coach, so he's going to have to figure out like how to coach, right? So my thought was that they would have a similar season to the last 2, only it would have more bright spots. It would be more pleasant to sort of endure, and that's been true so far.
Do you see this team as a retooling? Like, they should be a playoff team? Is there a path? Because it seems like they're going to do a retool, not a rebuild here, and that's more complicated.
Retool. I think they were forced by ownership to retool because ownership was like, we don't want to tank, we don't want to be a 4-win team and suck. You got to keep the core intact, and they're like, fine, we'll do it. And I think almost like they did it so that this coming off season they can be like, well, look, you told us to keep it together, and we've only won 8 games, so let's do what we wanted to do, and then they'll have the green light to go do that. But I don't think that they will be. I don't think this is a Super Bowl roster by any means. They do have the good fortune though of playing in the NFC, which is fucking terrible. And so it's you can't rule anything out right now because no team in the NFC looks good at all, with the exception of like Philadelphia. And Philadelphia, the best team they've played and beaten so far are the Vikings, and the Vikings aren't that good. So things change from month to month. So what the NFC looks like, in December is not going to be what the NFC looks like now, and how my team factors into that. Any answer I give you is going to be colored by the fact that I cheer for them. So it's not going to be accurate. It'll be as honest as I can get, and I try to be objective about them. But fans are fans.
Yeah, absolutely. Best part of watching Justin Jefferson play for your team every week is what?
Well, he's had 2 bad games in a row. So yeah, I it's not his production, because obviously I love it when he goes for 150 and 2 touchdowns and stuff like that. It's his demeanor. I think he's just an incredibly joyful player, and he is someone who I think can show everybody the determination doesn't always have to be grim. Like, you never notice that is always that adjective is always applied to determination. It's always grim determination. Never happens. Right? But like, he works as hard as any player in the league to better his craft, right? He works his ass off, but he always does it with a smile on his face. He loves doing it. And I think that is extremely cool. Like, I really do enjoy that, because he's, it's not as if he's like, it's not as if he's only getting paid $5 an hour. Like, he's getting well compensated for this. And so he's making the most of it. And I think that's very cool. I think that would rub off on teammates, and I really do hope that he sticks around for the rest of his career.
So you said the NFC kind of sucks right now. Is there any team that you're in on? Like, right now you're like, this is going to be a Super Bowl team. I'm in on this.
In the NFC team. Or in the AFC?
As a whole. Who are you like, these teams are actually good? And I know for certain that these teams are actually good right now.
I mean, the Bills are actually good, and the Chiefs are actually good, but that's not like a huge revelation, right? I think Miami could still be exposed. I know they're undefeated right now, but you do have to wait that out a little bit. And then, the Eagles have looked really fucking impressive. There's no, one thing is that I don't want anyone to complain about Jalen Hurts ever again. Like, no Eagles fans are allowed to complain about him. He's been fantastic. Get out of here.
I mean, as a college guy, like, we all knew, the college folks were like, hey, no, Jalen Hurts. I mean, for NFL folks, like, one of the things that was so fascinating about what Jalen Hurts did in college, where he goes from Kiffin in Alabama, like, he transfers from Alabama, and he's like, you know what? I'm going to spend my last year in college with the air raid and just completely throw everything for the win. And I'm just going to see what happens with me and Lincoln Riley at OU. And it just worked. And he was just better. Like, that was just an under talked about talking point with Jalen Hurts, to be like, I've been a running quarterback. I've been just ground and pound, used in a completely different way. And then my last year of college sports, basically, I get benched by Tua. He comes in second half, wins the national title because I wasn't playing well in the first half. Then I'm just going to go play in the air raid and just completely show this other side of who I am as a player and who I can be as a quarterback. I think he's so fascinating, and clearly guys buy into Jalen Hurts, and he is a good leader. And you hear both Saban and Lincoln talk about him. I don't know. Jalen Hurts is like the all-time just everybody's buying in quarterback guy who you want leading your locker room. Like, I think he's an exceptional leader.
Well, also he's cool. He's fun to watch, right? Like, I think that's 90% of it. Is I just want cool players, and Justin Jefferson's a cool player. My quarterback is not a cool player, but like, Jalen Hurts is a cool quarterback to watch because he can run, but also when he makes throws, he makes big throws and stuff like that. I think that's really what we want out of people. It's interesting you talked about him getting benched for Tua, and then and then going to Oklahoma as a result. That happened. When Tua's ascension essentially signaled Nick Saban's transition from just plugging anybody he could find in a quarterback to really hunting down pro prospects. And since then, he's had nothing but pro prospects at that position. And that Jalen Hurts was, sort of someone who could have been that sort of quarterback, but like maybe Saban didn't notice it. Or maybe two was just that good because he really was good in college. I think that's all really interesting dynamic because it speaks to the evolution not just of college football but also of pro football as well, and in very cool ways.
Absolutely. Drew, what can the good folks check out from you over at Defector this week? We got the Distraction podcast, you and Roth. You got all kinds of good stuff coming down the pike.
We do. I mean, I'll through the season I'll just do my mailbag and I'll write about the NFL and we'll have podcasts, and we have we actually have a team offsite where we're gonna think about a lot more stuff to do. We have more podcasts, like more gossip coming and stuff like that. I would just say that go to Defector and then go to SF Gate, which is the other place I work.
Yeah.
Because those are the places where it's not as easy anymore to find sort of, this is an old term, but homepages, like places where you can sort of camp out for the day and there's always going to be something interesting to read. And it's very, and I'm biased obviously because both those places pay me, but as I read them, they're also pleasant to read. And that's no small thing, as blogs have gotten eaten up by social media and what have you.
Also, I'm glad you mentioned this because look, blogs, Defector does a great job of this where it's so clean. You can just see all the latest stuff and then comb through the day and be like, all right, I'm hitting this, this, and this. And it's just easy. So many websites. It's so hard. All I want to do is the latest news. Like all I want is not even news, just the latest articles in order for the day. And I can comb through and be like, all right, I need to hit this one. Oh, I love this author. I need to read this one. If your website does not make it very easy for me to find, just the Washington Post is a disaster because I have no idea what the timeline is. You go through different stuff. Like it's terrible. And so many blogs do not make it easy for you to just scroll.
Also, in fairness to the Washington Post, they're putting out
a billion stories a day. Yeah.
200, so it's apples and oranges, but also on the advertising factor, plays such a huge role in website design and website utility. And that was one of the reasons, that Deadspin was so difficult for us to work at, when we got to the end, and why it's almost impossible to read now. There are a lot of sites, and I'm not even going to single out Deadspin because there are other ones like this where you go to it and you really just cannot read it. Like there's just too much shit on the page. And not even pop-up windows, but just like the placement of the text is very weird. Like they don't like you hit reader mode on your phone and that doesn't even work either.
Yeah.
Like all of that, it makes it hard for people to read, and which is funny because the whole reason that you go to places is so you can read the text. If you can't,
that's why you get so frustrated. You're like, all I want to do is the one thing that you are not letting me do. Like all I want to do is that one thing, and I feel like, am I 73 years old? Why am I yelling at this computer screen about the readability of this website? But it's a stickler, man. And you guys are doing great stuff over at SF Gate and Defector, and go subscribe to the Distraction podcast if you've not already done so as well. But Drew, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for making, as I get a LaCroix burp, making the time today. I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. And thank you so much. And I do apologize for being late.
No, you're okay, man.
Thanks a lot, man.